Rui, a 15-year-old boy without magic, is constantly bullied by his friend Elena. Elena mocks Rui for his lack of magical abilities. Today she continues her usual ridicule. In this world, almost everyone has a unique magical power, but Rui doesn't have it, and this greatly depresses him. His problems are not limited to magic. Sports are not his strong point either, which further aggravates his condition. Unlike Rui, Elena mastered magic at the age of 3, and her skills are only growing. Her abilities become more powerful as she grows older. Rui is upset not only by Elena's magical superiority, but also by the fact that she will never understand his suffering. Elena trained Rui in magic, hoping that he would gain his powers. Rui didn't like that it was Elena who was training him, and this didn't make her happy. Having gained patience, Rui decides to practice magic himself. He tells Elena that he wants to study alone. Elena is surprised and starts a scandal, claiming that people like Rui cannot learn magic without help, provoking him into conflict. Elena breaks down and tells Rui that he is as much of a pathetic loser as his dead parents because he can't even master simple magic. These words deeply hurt Rui because his parents died when he was still a baby. Full of rage, Rui declares that he wants nothing more to do with her. Elena is shocked by what she heard and remains completely confused. Rui says that he doesn't consider Elena a friend because of her arrogant behavior, which irritates him greatly. With these words, he runs away into the forest, leaving Elena in complete shock. Upon reaching the forest, Rui decides to start training in magic. He concentrates on the wind magic spell, preparing for practical use. However, Rui is again unable to master magic, and his frustration grows. Thoughts about Elena's words about his parents do not leave him. He tries to pull himself together and continues to try to summon wind magic. Despite his efforts, Rui begins to doubt himself as nothing seems to be working. He also notices that there is a strange atmosphere in the forest. Suspecting that this is related to possible monsters, Rui decides to leave the forest as quickly as possible. As Rui began to walk away, he noticed a strange glowing hole in the ground, from which powerful magic was emanating. Rui wanted to go back and tell everyone about the find, but accidentally fell into a hole. After the fall, he lost consciousness, and when he woke up, he found himself in an unfamiliar place where there was nothing visible. Remembering what happened, Rui tries to understand how he ended up here. Suddenly, a beautiful woman in a revealing black dress appears behind him. Rui is stunned. He has never seen such beautiful women. Rui, looking at the woman, notices that she has small horns and considers her a demon. In one book, he read that demons are cruel and insidious creatures who wield powerful magic. The woman confirms his suspicions, admitting that she really is a demon. Rui, confused, awkwardly introduces himself and says that he has never met such a demon. Demona was amazed by Rui's courage, despite the elders' stories about demons being deadly creatures. Rui, however, admits that he is not afraid of this demon because she is very beautiful. This confession confuses the demon. For tens of thousands of years, no one has praised her, especially for her beauty. Rui notices her embarrassment and immediately begins to apologize for his words. At this time, another girl appears behind Rui. She is shorter, with tanned skin, a long scaly tail, and wings. Rui greeted the girl, which she did not like, although she was surprised by his boldness. The girl introduces herself as the 7th Dragon Queen. This information worries Rui greatly, because dragons are considered the most powerful race in the world. The girl is pleased with her performance and noticeably surprises Rui. She then asks Rui if he knows who this demon is. The demon remembers that she never introduced herself to Ruyu. The woman introduces herself as Destarosa, the 66th Demon Queen, who rules over darkness and chaos. Rui is shocked and very scared by what he heard. He still doubts whether they are really the queens of demons and dragons. Destarosa believes that Rui does not see her as a queen, only because he thinks she is beautiful. While the Dragon Queen does not understand why Destarosa is so easily embarrassed by Rui's compliments. A small quarrel begins between them, and Rui thinks that perhaps they get along well and can even be friends. During the quarrel, both queens decide to transform themselves to show Rui their true forms. Destarosa's clothes are almost completely torn during the transformation process. The Dragon Queen's outfit disappears and a hard, scaly layer begins to appear on her body. Rui feels an incredible flow of magical energy that he has never experienced before. After the transformation, the Dragon Queen becomes a huge and menacing dragon, and Destarosa dresses in an even more revealing outfit than before. After seeing this, Rui is finally convinced that in front of him is indeed the Queen of Demons and the Queen of Dragons. He recalls the legend of a hero who was a master of magic sword and had a good character. This hero once saved the world from the Dragon Queen and the Demon Queen, saving people from their evil, after which he himself disappeared. Rui realizes that these are the very queens that the hero imprisoned here. He doesn't understand why they weren't destroyed, but only imprisoned. Rui suggests that the queens were so powerful that the hero could only imprison them in this empty space. Rui decides to ask the queens how to get out of this place. Destarosa replies that it is impossible to leave this place. Rui despairs, realizing that he may have to spend the rest of his life here. The Dragon Queen adds that if they knew how to get out, they would already be out of this place. She decides to show Rui the seal that appeared on her when she arrived here. The Dragon Queen explains that the seal was placed by the hero who imprisoned them here. Destarosa added that because of the seal, their souls are connected to this place. Rui checked his body, but did not find the seal. Destarosa began to undress Rui to find the seal. But Rui did not have the seal, and the reason for this remained unknown. Rui said that he got here by falling into a strange hole in the ground. Destarosa thought it was an inexplicable accident. She assumed that Rui might still be able to get out of here. Rui promised to do everything to leave this strange place. The Dragon Queen and the Demon Queen were surprised by such a decisive promise. Rui, in turn, did not quite understand what they wanted from him. Destarosa suggested that Rui create a hole to get out of here. Rui replied that he couldn't use magic and therefore couldn't make a hole. Destarosa insisted that Rui should not give up magic completely. She offered to train him to increase his magical powers. To better explain, Destarosa compared magic to a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Destarosa warned that if he overdid it, Rui could run out of magic and die. She added that to train effectively, he would have to push himself almost to death. Destarosa said it would take 500 years of training, which shocked Rui, who doubted he would live that long. The Dragon Queen explained that time flows differently here. 1 year here is equal to 1 day on Earth. So 500 years in this place is only 500 days on Earth. The Dragon Queen said that training would help Rui get out of here. Rui thought that they would not be helped for free, and then he was told that in exchange he would have to help them get out. He could not refuse this. The next day, Destarosa began training Rui, for which he was very grateful. She reminded him that it would take him 500 years to master the most powerful magical techniques. Rui wanted to check if time really flowed here, as the Dragon Queen said. Destarosa confirmed that time here really does flow, as the Dragon Queen said, and that she herself verified it with magic. Rui remembered the elder from his village who took care of him after his parents died. He was worried that the elder would be worried and promised to return after training. Rui promised Destarosa that he would try his best to get out of here as soon as possible. After this, Destarosa patted Rui on the head, praising his determination. Rui remembered his mother stroking his head before she died, which brought out a warm and pleasant feeling he hadn't felt in a long time. Destarosa apologized for the possibility of his death here, which drastically changed Rui's mood, making him more depressed. During long training with Destarosa, Rui's magical skills were worn out. He came to the Dragon Queen completely exhausted. The Dragon Queen noticed from his condition that Destarosa was indeed teaching Rui effectively. Rui hadn't even had time to catch his breath yet, but the Dragon Queen was already ready for training. She said that she would teach him not magic, but a special technique of Qigong. Qigong was special, revealing the hidden powers of any magician. People rarely use Qigong, but its power rivaled magic. The Queen promised that by mastering this technique, Rui would be able to defeat even a dragon. The study of Qigong includes 9 exercises divided into attacks and defenses. Anyone who masters all the exercises will be able to overcome any obstacles. Rui wondered why so few people use this powerful technology. The Queen explained that Qigong is extremely difficult to master. She added that magic has become more accessible and people prefer simple magic, while Qigong requires long years of training. Rui was not afraid of difficulties, because Qigong training seemed to him as difficult as magic. The Queen emphasized that mastering Qigong does not require talent, only diligence. Rui enthusiastically stated that he was ready to try and was eager to start training, but the Queen kept silent about the fact that he would have to memorize everything he learned. Then Destarosa appeared, announcing that the training program would change every week. The Queen wanted Rui to master Qigong faster than Destarosa could teach him magic. After 10 years in the endless hell, Rui's magical abilities have greatly increased. Destarosa was pleased with his progress, but knew that training needed to continue. She saw Rui transform into a real magician. She was surprised that during all this time, Rui never showed any signs of fatigue. At the end of one of his training sessions, Destarosa told him that he had had enough for today, but Rui insisted that he could continue even though his magical energy was almost completely depleted. Rui said he was trying too hard to just take a break. Destarosa thought his pursuit of perfection was too obsessive. She praised him for his diligence in all his training sessions. She added that despite his weak magical past, his efforts were bearing fruit. She then decided to transfer some of her magical power to Rui through a magical channel. She explained that the magical reserves of someone like him were very small, so she could only transfer a small amount of energy. She also warned that if Rui did not use this magic, his powers would weaken, and over time he would lose his ability to use magic, which scared him greatly. Destarosa began to transfer energy to him. During the transfer, she noticed that Rui's magic channels had become more stretched than others, thanks to his hard training. After transferring the magic, Destarosa continued to tell Rui that he was becoming stronger with each training. These words touched Rui deeply because no one had ever praised him like that before. He calmed down and admitted that he was very glad to hear her support. Rui then said that he was happy to be here with them, affectionately calling Destarosa "little sister." Destarosa lost consciousness from surprise and embarrassment. At first, Rui was very worried about Destarosa, but the Dragon Queen assured him that she was just strange and would soon wake up. After this, the Queen told Rui to rest before the next training. During training, Rui was able to do 100 push-ups with a heavy stone on his back. The Queen again ordered him to rest before the next exercise. She was pleasantly surprised by the first visible results of her training. The Dragon Queen noted that in 10 years, Rui had mastered the Qigong technique. While reflecting on his progress, she noticed how he continued to do push-ups while hiding, which made her very angry. She sternly told him that he shouldn't overexert himself. Rui explained that, being weak in his world, he feels he needs to train more. The Queen objected that this was nonsense, and his body had already become strong and resilient, although Rui did not believe it. Rui said that he was the weakest and slowest in his world, and that the Dragon Queen would not be able to understand him because she had always been strong. The Queen realized that Rui suffered from complexes and decided to help him with it. She assured him that his body was getting stronger with every workout. The Queen explained that he considered himself weak only because he had not previously understood how to use his body effectively. The Dragon Queen also noted that Rui has incredible regeneration and should be grateful to nature for his strength. These words deeply touched Rui, causing him to rethink his capabilities. Then he decided to ask the Queen about her parents. She replied that they died when she was very little and that she didn't even remember their faces. Rui felt awkward after his question, thinking that he had touched upon unpleasant memories. But the Dragon Queen only chuckled, telling him not to worry, and reminded him that her body was also strong from birth. Suddenly, Rui, overwhelmed with emotion, rushed into her arms, realizing how much they had in common. The Queen didn't immediately understand what was happening, but Rui said that she'd been through a lot too. Understanding his feelings, she gently reassured him after a short hug. After that, Rui felt relieved and said that the Dragon Queen was once just like him, and promised not to whine anymore. Meanwhile, Destarosa came to her senses and realized that they had found a common language. By the time he was a century old in the endless hell, Rui had become much stronger and had already mastered some magical techniques. He wanted to show his success to the Queen and called her by name, Rio. She remembered Rui once asking her if she had a real name. When people feared her as the Dragon Queen, no one saw her as a person. Hearing this, Rui decided to call her Rio. Rui brought her back to reality by asking her about his magic. Rio admitted that his magical abilities had increased significantly compared to before. She then praised him for having mastered half of all the offensive and defensive techniques of Qigong in 100 years. Rui confessed to Rio that every time she touched him, his heart began to beat faster. Rio was shocked, and Rui continued, adding that her skin was soft and she smelled delicious. He kept showering her with compliments, and Rio became more and more uncomfortable. She ended up beating him, calling him a pervert for saying such things. Rui, confused, did not understand what he had said wrong and began to think that he had clearly gone too far. Rio, still processing Rui's words and feeling how much he embarrassed her, couldn't get it out of her head. At this point, Destarosa appeared to discuss further training plans with Rio. Rui, feeling awkward, decided to leave them and continue training alone. Destarosa noticed how Rio and Rui had become really close during their training. Destarosa reminded Rio of how they used to fight to the death before Rui appeared. Both realized how much the endless hell had changed with his arrival. Destarosa reflected on how their life had become more fun since then. At this moment, Rui approached Destarosa to ask about his magical abilities. Instead of listening to Rui, Destarosa sternly told him not to call her by her name anymore. Rui tried to remember how to address her correctly. Remembering, he called her little sister, and Destarosa almost fainted from surprise. She then rushed towards Rui with a hug, completely at a loss. Rui and Destarosa began training, where he demonstrated his fire magic skills. Destarossa was very pleased with his progress after 100 years in endless hell. But despite his rapid growth, their separation was drawing ever closer. Rui ran up to her to see if she was satisfied with his abilities. However, as he got closer, he noticed that Destarossa had started to cry. Rui immediately became worried when he saw his little sister Destarossa start to cry. She, continuing to cry, hugged him tightly and said that her tears were precisely because of him. Destarossa, without holding back her emotions, promised herself that she would return Rui to his world, even if they never met again. During his 300 years in endless hell, Rui mastered the Dark Flame, one of the most powerful spells. Destarossa and Rio were pleased that he had mastered magic that was only available to high-ranking demons. Destarossa revealed that she periodically transferred some of her magical energy to Rui to help him develop his abilities more effectively. Destarossa was delighted at how quickly Rui had mastered complex spells. Rio added that Rui also made progress in her training, mastering all the Qigong techniques. After the training, both praised Rui for his perseverance and drive. When it became late, Rui suggested that everyone go to bed, and Destarossa and Rio agreed. But a moment later, Rui suddenly fell to the ground, clutching his chest in pain, and both women rushed to him to understand what had happened. After removing Rui's outerwear, they noticed a barely visible gray military mark. Rui was scared, but Destarossa and Rio were happy, because such a mark appears only on real warriors. Having calmed down, Rui asked if they had similar marks. Destarossa slightly opened her clothes, showing her mark. She explained that it was a royal mark, which was higher in status than a military one, and indicated the right to a royal title. Rio also showed off her mark on her palm, symbolizing her royal family affiliation. Rui wanted to know what was written on his military tag. Destarossa and Rio read that Rui was recognized as a warrior of demons and dragons. Destarossa, filled with joy and pride, hugged him tightly. However, Rio noticed that the mark was not complete. It had to turn silver to be fully activated. Rui decided that he needed to train even harder to complete the mark. But Rio explained that his body had already reached its limits for his age. In the endless hell, no one ages, so his body no longer develops, and he will not be able to surpass his maximum. The only way out is to get out of here. Destarossa assured that his skills were sufficient for this. Rui decided to rest today and try to escape from the endless hell tomorrow. Rui returned to his small house where he had been recuperating and resting for all 300 years of training. In his sleep, he accidentally grabbed something soft and pleasant to the touch. When he woke up, he saw Destarossa in her underwear in front of him, and realized that he had been holding her breasts all this time. Destarossa was pleasantly surprised that Rui didn't lose his composure and immediately grabbed onto her. The sight frightened Rui greatly. He did not understand what was happening. Suddenly, Rio pounced on him, also in her underwear. Confused, Rui did not understand what Destarossa and Rio were planning. Destarossa explained that since he was leaving them tomorrow, she and Rio wanted to say goodbye in a special way. Rio added that their strength and knowledge are not all they can give him. They told Rui that they were ready to give him their first time. Destarossa immediately kissed Rui, which made him very excited. After the kiss, Destarossa confessed her love to Rui. Rio immediately joined in and kissed him as well. Showing her affection, Destarossa noticed how embarrassed Rio was, although she denied it. A quarrel began between Destarossa and Rio, both making excuses that it was their first time. Rui watched the argument silently from the sidelines. After this, Destarossa and Rio stopped arguing and were ready to pounce on the defenseless Rui. Rui was confused and frightened by the situation he had found himself in against his will. It was already impossible to stop Destarossa and Rio. They were ready to continue their pleasures with Rui. The next day, they explained to him what he needed to do to get out of this endless hell. Rui just looked at them, remembering the day he first came here. He couldn't forget the first training sessions that drove him half to death. He also remembered the funny moments with Destarossa and Rio. Rui realized that these days were over and that today he would finally return home. Rui began to prepare a spell to create a portal and return home. Before he could finish, Rio interrupted him to convey something important. She gave him her dragon fang earring, explaining that with its help he could open the portal. Rio asked to channel all his magic into the earring. When Rui did this, the earring turned into a dragon sword. Rui was surprised by the powerful magical power emanating from the sword. Rio told Rui that this sword was not just any sword, but a relic of his father, created from his fangs. She added that there were only 2 such swords in the world, and she was giving one of them to Rui as a keepsake. Rui wanted to refuse, but Rio interrupted him before he could say a word. Rio continued by saying that she was giving him the relic for a reason, and he should understand that if he didn't want to accept it, Then Rui changed his mind and decided to accept the sword, promising Rio that he would keep it carefully. Rio is pleased with his decision and explains how to use the weapon properly. Within a few minutes, Rui was ready to use his sword to cut through the space between the human world and the endless hell. Concentrating all his magic on the sword, he delivered a powerful and confident blow. After his strike, a huge crack appeared in the air from which a bright light poured. As the crack grew wider, Rui began to say goodbye to Destarosa and Rio, not hiding his emotions. Before he left, the three of them hugged. Destarosa wished Rui a safe return home. Rio wished him luck and said that they would always wait for his return. Rui couldn't believe that this was the end, and that after passing through the crack, he would finally return to his world. He also thought that he would definitely free them from the endless hell to live together. Before leaving, he promised Destarosa and Rio that he would return for them. They just looked after him in silence. A moment later, Rui passed through the crack and it closed, confirming that he had left them. Rio told Destarosa that for the first time in 300 years, they were alone in the endless hell. Destarosa suddenly hugged Rio and started crying loudly, which Rio didn't expect. Through her tears, Destarosa repeated how much she missed Rui. Rio tried to calm her down, surprised that Destarosa had never behaved like this before. She was amazed that the Demon Queen was capable of such emotions. When Destarosa calmed down a bit, she asked Rio if she missed Rui. Rio said she believes in Rui and no longer feels as lonely as she did before he came along. These words caused a storm of emotions in Destarosa, and she began to squeeze Rio, calling her cutie. Destarosa then suggested an urgent hug if Rio was feeling lonely too. Destarosa hugged Rio tightly despite her attempts to break free. Rio wished more and more with each passing moment that Rui would return to them. And Rui, being between dimensions, tried to return to his world. He also missed Destarosa and Rio, realizing that he would not see them for a long time. But having collected his thoughts, Rui firmly decided that he would save them. Having found a new crack, he prepared to return to his world. Rui took out the sword given to him by Rio and struck the crack, widening it to allow passage. After passing through it, he found himself in the very forest, where he found a hole into endless hell. It was only a moment later that Rui realized that he had finally returned home. He was overwhelmed with happiness and immediately decided to go to his native village. However, during his time in hell, he forgot the way home. At first, Rui wanted to climb a tree to look around, but after jumping, he found himself at an incredible height. From this height, he saw the sea and his native village. Taken in by the beauty around him, Rui realized what a tiny world he had lived in before. His thoughts returned to how to save Destarosa and Rio, but doubts interfered with his confidence in success. He decided to return home first to make sure that everything was still as before. After returning home, Rui collected the necessary things and went to a place important to him. It was a large stone where his parents were buried. Rui apologized for his long absence and promised that next time he would introduce Destarosa and Rio to them. At that moment, the elder who raised Rui after the death of his parents appeared behind him. The elder asked Rui where he had been all this time. Rui replied that it was too long a story, apologizing for his long absence. Rui was genuinely happy to see the elder again. The elder invited Rui to come to him and warm himself with something warm. In response, Rui created a huge fireball, explaining that he needed to go. The elder was stunned by how easily Rui had created such a powerful spell. Rui said that he was stronger now and no longer that weakling. The elder noticed the confidence in Rui's eyes and promised to look after his house. Rui thanked him and continued on his way. On the way, Elena met him and immediately began to complain about him. She thought that since Rui had returned, it meant he wanted to make peace with her. Rui chuckled and said that her arrogance had not changed, and it was time for her to grow up. Elena was stunned, because Rui had never dared to speak to her like that before. In her rage, she decided that Rui should pay for his words and prepared to hit him. But to her surprise, Rui easily repelled the attack without receiving a single scratch. Elena was shocked that he was able to stop one of her strongest moves. Rui told Elena that she doesn't notice how the people around her are getting stronger as long as her skills remain the same. This only made Elena even more angry, and she tried to hit him again. But Rui dodged all of her attacks, not even allowing her to touch him. Then he used a Qigong technique and kicked her right in the face. Elena fell, but even lying on the ground, she continued to command, demanding that Rui lift her up. Rui said goodbye to Elena, telling her not to interfere with others on their way. Elena, shouting after him, assured him that one day they would still be together. Moving on, Rui remembered the conversation with Destarosa and Rio, where they discussed the plan to escape from the endless hell. Destarosa offered to learn more about the hero who had imprisoned them, since only he knew how to remove the seals. Rui assumed that the hero was long dead, but Rio noted that his family or relatives might know how to free them. Rui decided that when he returned home, the first thing he would do was look for the hero's grandchildren. On the way, he decided to find out about them in Escadria, the capital of the continent. But not knowing where the capital was, Rui decided to find it by following the sources of powerful magic. The technique of finding magic is usually used by demons, because people need enormous energy to master it. Rui focused all his power to find large concentrations of magic, assuming they were coming from the capital. His efforts were crowned with success. He discovered a powerful source of magic, deciding that the capital was there. Having learned the direction, Rui used Flying Leap, a Qigong technique that gives incredible speed. Rui made a light jump and instantly covered a large distance. After several such jumps, he decided to take a rest. Stopping, Rui noticed a large line leading to the entrance of the capital. He was a little worried as he had never been here before and didn't know what to expect. When it was his turn, the knight demanded a migration card from Warai. The knight, noticing the absence of a migration card, demanded that Rui leave the line. Rui was confused, because no one had warned him about the need for this map. He began to get nervous, trying to find a way out of the situation. The knight assumed that Rui was going to enroll in a magic academy, although he didn't quite understand what was going on. The knight hurried him, saying that the exam for the academy would begin very soon. The knight let Rui into the capital, wishing him luck in his exams. Rui was glad, but he didn't understand why the knight let him in anyway. When he first found himself in the capital, he was shocked by its beauty. Although he heard that there were many people here, there were far more than he expected. Approaching the sign, Rui decided to get acquainted with the local attractions. To the right, he noticed a shopping area where people had been selling a wide variety of goods since the morning. On the left was the very academy that the knight had spoken of. Rui had always dreamed of studying there, but it wasn't a priority right now. He decided to go to the bar first to find out something about the hero's relatives. But being a child, he would have been kicked out. Then Rui decided to go to the guild, where he could earn money by completing tasks and get a migration card to travel to other cities and countries. After some thought, Rui decided to join the guild and become an adventurer. But then an angry old woman appeared, deciding that Rui had gotten lost on his way to the academy. She grabbed him and forcibly led him towards the academy. On the way, the woman told us that the academy was created to counter the growing power of the empire. The old lady assured Rui that he would be able to pass the exam at the academy without any documents. A few minutes later, they reached the academy, where entrance exams were already underway. Rui realized that there was no way out and he would have to take the exam. But this didn't really upset him. Getting into the academy was his dream. Approaching the counter, Rui met one of the teachers who was accepting new students. In the distance, Rui saw the students training, using magic to hit the floating targets. The teacher invited Rui to join in and demonstrate his magical skills, any of his choice. Rui noticed a girl who was trying her best but could not hit the target. He felt sorry for her, especially when others laughed and called her incapable. It was Rui's turn. At first, he didn't plan to show his strength, but he changed his mind and decided to demonstrate what he learned from Destarosa and Rio. At this time, no one knew who Rui was or where he came from. The teacher gave the command, and Rui created a giant fireball that instantly destroyed all the targets. Everyone froze in shock, not understanding how he was able to use such powerful magic. After Rui's spell, a deep crack remained on the ground, and thick smoke rose from it. Everyone around was scared, but Rui was pleased with his success. He wanted to ask the teacher if he had managed, but he saw that he was lying unconscious. Rui turned to another teacher who, looking at him with fear, said that he could be accepted. Rui was then sent to the next exam. Rui felt awkward under the close gaze of those around him, who were discussing him with interest. Yuri, one of those who also entered the academy, approached Rui. Rui couldn't understand why a handsome guy like Yuri would be interested in a country boy like him. He greeted Yuri and expressed his joy at meeting him, to which he reciprocated. Yuri immediately suggested switching to informal you, because here everyone was equal. Rui was surprised by Yuri's bright smile, and he thought that all the girls would probably run after such a guy. Yuri noted that many unusual students entered the academy this year. He added that he expected her to be the best among the newcomers, although Rui did not understand who he was talking about. Rui then asked Yuri who he meant, explaining that he himself had recently arrived. Yuri thought for a moment, but soon they returned to their conversation. Rui wanted to know how strong she was, and Yuri replied that she was the granddaughter of a legendary hero. Rui was stunned to learn that the legendary hero's granddaughter was studying here, something he never expected. He asked Yuri what she looked like, which surprised him greatly. And just at that moment, the hero's granddaughter approached them. She immediately turned to Rui, asking if he was the newcomer everyone was talking about. When Rui confirmed, she disdainfully stated that he looked extremely pathetic. Yuri intervened, asking Charlotte not to insult Rui. He then introduced her as the granddaughter of the legendary hero, Charlotte Judelia. Rui immediately remembered how he admired her grandfather in the past. He also thought that the Demon Queen and the Dragon Queen, contrary to legend, were not so evil at all. Judelia interrupted his thoughts by declaring that she would not allow some boy to take her place at the academy. Yuri calmly informed Judelia that the exams were already completed and nothing could be changed. In response, Judelia put her hand in her chest and pulled out a white glove. She threw it towards Rui, challenging him to a duel. Everyone around froze in shock. The granddaughter of a legendary hero is challenging a simple village boy. Judelia set a condition. If she wins, Rui must refuse to enroll. If Rui defeats her, then Judelia will become his slave. Yuri desperately tried to dissuade Rui, considering this challenge thoughtless. Rui thought, he didn't need a slave, but the opportunity to learn something about the hero was enticing. Ignoring Yuri's entreaties, Rui picked up the gauntlet, accepting Judelia's duel. Within a few minutes, Rui and Judelia were ready to fight, and the rest of the students watched with interest. Regos, one of the teachers, was worried about the possible consequences, because if someone got hurt, they would be punished. Yuri calmed him down, assuring him that he would take full responsibility, since the teacher himself was also curious about what Rui was capable of. However, Yuri added that Regos should still judge the duel, which at first did not make the teacher very happy. Regos came out and announced the rules. The winner is the one who makes the opponent lose consciousness or surrender. He also added that he could stop a fight if he decided someone could no longer continue. The teacher reminded that murder was prohibited and gave the signal to begin the duel. Judelia thought that if Rui gave up quickly, the fight would soon be over. After the duel began, Judelia drew her sword, preparing to defeat Rui. Rui wanted to use his sword that Rio left behind, but remembered her instructions, to use it only when there was a real threat to life. He decided to duel with his bare hands, which surprised Judelia. Judelia, reminding herself of her legendary heritage, was ready to strike the first blow. She rushed at the unarmed Rui with fury. Rui extended his hand forward and used the Qigong technique Golden Cocoon, which completely absorbed Judelia's attack. She was shocked. Her sword, which cuts through steel, was unable to penetrate Rui's defense. After parrying the blow, Rui calmly stated that he was not the Demon King, not the Dragon King, not a hero, not even the grandson of a hero, but just a village boy. Judelia still couldn't believe that Rui had blocked her attack with his bare hands. The golden cocoon made one area of the wizard's body incredibly durable, unlike the steel cocoon, which protected the entire body but was less effective. At the same time, the golden cocoon did not restrict movement, which made it especially useful. Judelia attacked Rai again, but he easily repelled this attempt as well. She was confused. How could this country boy so easily block her masterful sword strikes? Judelia changed tactics, releasing multiple petal blades towards Rui. However, Rui easily dodged each of them, despite their speed and numbers. Then Judelia released even more blades, hoping that they would hit their target and disable him. The teacher considered this excessive and tried to stop the duel, but Yuri stopped him. Yuri pointed out how calmly and confidently Rui was acting, suggesting that he could easily handle this attack. Rui was surprised by the number of petals flying towards him and realized that he needed to use strong magic. Instead of dodging, he decided to run straight towards the attack. Flying high into the air, Rui used the wide flame technique, which instantly burned all the petals. Judelia was stunned. Rui easily repelled both her physical and magical attacks. At that moment, she was overwhelmed by memories of her childhood, when she had trained hard with her father. Her father told her about the hero's mark that no one could obtain. He assured Judelia that if she trained hard, she would be able to obtain it one day, which became a powerful motivation for her. Adults gathered around her, admiring her and predicting that she would become as great as her grandfather. Judelia promised to train without stopping and grow up to be a real hero who will protect peaceful people from any threats. Judelia, having collected her thoughts, was preparing to strike Rui again. She was determined not to let him take her place at the academy. But Rui used the golden cocoon Qigong technique again, easily repelling the attack. He remembered how Elena had mocked him, believing him to be incapable of magic. Then Rui realized that Judelia, like him, had gone through hardships, dedicating herself to training to become the best. Rui decided to use the Qigong technique Golden Sword Grasp, not only stopping Judelia's attack, but also grabbing her sword with his hand. Eudelia was horrified to see Rui easily stop her weapon with his bare hands. Grabbing the sword, Rui prepared for his next move, Meteor Fist, which greatly increased the power of his strikes. Eudelia thought that her last seconds had come and she would not be able to defeat Rui. However, Rui stopped his fist just inches from her face, sparing her. Rui tried to convince Eudelia that the duel was over in his favor, and there was no point in continuing the fight. Eudelia, frightened, burst into tears, not understanding how Rui had defeated her so easily. Ruya was worried about her condition and did not know how to help her at that moment. Rui realized that no one was looking and created a dark space to hide them both. A black cube appeared in front of everyone, completely hiding Rui and Eudelia. He then checked Eudelia's condition and tried to calm her down. Eudelia soon noticed that everything around her had disappeared, and she and Rui were left alone in the darkness. Rui explained that he created this cube so that no one would see her in this state and to block out external noise and light. Rui immediately began to calm Eudelia, who was frightened. She was both frightened and surprised by such concern, which made her feel embarrassed. Eudelia asked Rui why he was helping her despite her rudeness. Rui simply replied that he always helps those in trouble. These words reminded Eudelia of her childhood, when she also dreamed of helping people in difficult situations. Eudelia realized how she had not understood such a simple truth before. She apologized to Rui for her behavior and admitted defeat. Furthermore, Eudelia admitted that Rui was superior to her not only in combat and magic, but also in her soul. Rui replied that she had also proven herself worthy, especially impressing him with her latest magic. Rui was about to take off the black cube, but Eudelia stopped him, suggesting that they switch to informal terms, since they were now friends. He didn't object, and they shook hands as the cube slowly disappeared. Viewers saw Rui and Eudelia emerge from the destroyed cube. Eudelia announced to everyone that she was surrendering and acknowledging Rui's victory. Everyone was shocked to hear this from the legendary hero's granddaughter, and she added that it was Rui who should study at the academy instead of her. Teacher Regas reminded Eudelia of the promise she must fulfill after her defeat. Rui remembered her vow to become his slave, but declared that he did not need a slave. Eudelia, however, insisted that the conditions of the duel must be met, and she was ready to become his slave. She firmly said that since she lost, she was obliged to obey. Grabbing Rui's hand, Eudelia created a slave mark on her hand, indicating that she was now obligated to carry out all his orders. Eudelia, on the contrary, was not at all upset and was ready to carry out all of Rui's orders. Rui was once again embarrassed by the thought that the legendary hero's granddaughter was now his slave. After the duel, they met Yuri, who asked about the results of their exams. Yuri, noting with surprise that he could not imagine that someone from the hero's family would become a slave, confused and angered Eudelia. Yuri also asked who Rui and Eudelia are to each other now. Eudelia admitted that she didn't tell Rui earlier that she wanted to be friends with him because she thought he would start avoiding her. Rui was puzzled, but then Yuri introduced himself as Yuri von Exodoria, Prince Escador. Rui was shocked to realize that he personally knew a member of the royal family. He tried to address Yuri as Sir, but the prince stopped him, reminding him that friends do not call each other sirs. Yuri asked Rui if he had a place to stay overnight, noting that he was clearly not from the capital. Rui admitted that he hadn't thought about it, expecting to deal with such issues as they came up. Yuri offered to help and said that he could solve this issue. He offered Rui to stay with him, assuring him that he would be taken care of there, and Rui would not have to worry about paying. Eudelia, however, found Yuri's generosity suspicious, suggesting that he might have ulterior motives. Yuri explained that the capital is currently underpopulated, and if students like Rui raise the academy's rating, then students from other countries will come to the capital. He also promised to fully support Rui if he decided to study. Rui realized that with Yuri's help, it would be easier for him to get used to it and find information about the hero. And after some thought, he decided to become a student at the academy. That night, Rui stayed in Yuri's room, and in the morning he was going to look for information about the hero. When he went outside, he saw Eudelia, who had been waiting for him at the entrance all morning. Rui didn't expect to see her, but she said she just wanted to come to him. In order not to offend her, Rui happily replied that he was glad to see her, and her mood immediately improved. Then Eudelia suggested that they take a walk together, showing him different interesting places. Rui and Eudelia spent the whole day walking around the capital, visiting different places. During the walk, Rui thought that he was indebted to Eudelia, but his goal of freeing Destarossa and Rio could devalue everything the legendary hero had done. He remembered his last night with Destarossa and Rio, when they discussed the possibility that the hero was still alive. Destarosa suggested that if the hero created a place where no one ages, perhaps he had found a way to become immortal. Then Rui said that if the hero locked up Destarosa and Rio, then he is not kind, and when Rui finds him, he will kill him. Rio said that it was impossible to kill the hero, because he was too strong for anyone to defeat him. Destarosa added that the hero probably had good reasons for imprisoning them here, and would not have attacked without reason. However, these words did not convince Rui. He still wanted to kill the hero, unable to forgive him for their captivity. Eudelia noticed that something was wrong with Rui, but he assured her that everything was fine. Rui, having come to his senses, decided to find out more about the legendary hero from Eudelia. She thought that Rui was another fan of her grandfather. Eudelia admitted that she doesn't know much about him, since 300 years have passed since his disappearance. However, she said that her family had kept several items that belonged to the hero, and this greatly interested Rui. One of these items was the sword Frau Zerasos, which Eudelia used in the duel. It was passed down in their family from generation to generation. Rui couldn't take his eyes off the sword, feeling an inexplicable calm and joy. When Eudelia handed the sword to Rui, he felt a strange energy begin to emanate from it, filling him with magical power. After a few seconds, Rui returned the sword back, feeling something unusual. As evening was already approaching, Rui said that it was time for them to go home. He wanted to see Eudelia off, but she unexpectedly invited him to spend the night with her. Left alone, Rui thanked Eudelia for a wonderful day in order to diffuse the suddenly tense situation. Eudelia agreed and said that she would like to repeat such a day. At the same time, she thought that she had a unique chance to get closer to Rui. I remembered how many guys confessed their love to her after learning that she was the granddaughter of a legendary hero. Eudelia, although she was interested in boys, never dated them because they were weaker than her. Rui was the first to surpass her. Unexpectedly for him, Eudelia reminded him that she was his slave. She offered to fulfill any of his wishes, without exception. Then Eudelia took his hand and placed it on her chest, embarrassing him with this unexpected gesture. Rui thought again of that last night when Destarosa had told him that despite their love, he should not link his destiny with them. She added that she and Rio love him very much, but would be happy if he found someone he could love for life. Rio noted that among all the races, only humans usually have one partner, while male dragons can have multiple females at the same time. Destarosa reminded that aristocratic demons can have dozens of partners, not limited to one. Rui remembered her advice that if he found someone he wanted to be with, he needed to act decisively. Rio claimed that she was jealous, which caused another fight between her and Destarosa. At first, Rui thought that he was communicating with Eudelia only for information about the hero, but after their duel and walk, he began to be attracted to her more and more. Rui realized that Eudelia was the person he wanted to protect and spend his whole life with. Deciding to take action, Rui suddenly kissed her. The kiss lingered, and he gently laid Eudelia on the bed, starting to take off her shirt. Without stopping, he tried to take off his underwear. However, Eudelia felt that they were in too much of a hurry and wanted to stop. Rui gently reassured Eudelia, promising to be gentle, which helped her relax. He began to undress, and Eudelia was afraid that this could harm her. But Rui didn't stop and penetrated her, giving her completely new sensations. The next day they went to the academy, and Eudelia complained of severe pain. Rui suggested using regeneration magic, but Eudelia only pushed him away, asking him to think about his behavior. Eudelia asked Rui to be her boyfriend and take responsibility. Eventually, Rui agreed, despite his fears and doubts, accepting Elena's offer. She was surprised by this unexpected turn of events, and her heart began to beat faster than she expected. A stranger approached them and asked if they were applicants. The guy confidently noted that they looked like a weak and defenseless couple, making them think about their vulnerability. He then asked if the girl was the granddaughter of some hero or famous person. When he tried to come closer, the girl resolutely pushed him away, threatening to use force if he did not back down. Michael, as it turned out his name was, begged her to calm down and assured her that he posed no threat, asking her not to resort to extreme measures. Rui suddenly felt the need to apologize, although there was no apparent reason for it. Elena felt embarrassed when he openly expressed his affection for her, and her heart began to beat faster. Michael was dissatisfied and decided to show his strength by using magic to surpass Rui. The protagonist was puzzled as to why Michael was using magic in the city center and tried to understand his motives. He couldn't ignore the situation and decided to intervene to stop Michael and prevent possible consequences. Rui used the stone machine gun to stop Michael and his magic. The blow was successful. Michael flew back several meters and lost his balance. His comrades, alarmed, rushed to him, apologizing to Roy and Elena, trying to smooth over the conflict and restore peace. With a smile, Elena accepted Rui's offer to continue on their way, realizing that the incident with Michael was behind them and their adventure was continuing. Time was running out and they needed to move faster to avoid being late. The crowd had gathered around the building. The atmosphere was tense and bustling, and they were pushing through the people trying to reach their goal. Elena asked Rui not to attract attention, warning that their enemies might start to mock them, since there were many rivals around. But after learning about the possible results, Rui couldn't help himself and went to the place despite her advice. There he saw that the classes were marked from A to E. Elena was sure that they would end up in Class A. It turned out that they were assigned to Class Z, the existence of which they had not previously known, which added intrigue to the situation. Yuri greeted them warmly, creating a friendly atmosphere in this unexpected turn of events. Next to him stood a mysterious stranger in a knight's helmet, giving the meeting a mysterious and fantastical tone. This stranger turned out to be Yuri's companion, making what was happening even more mysterious and exciting. After a short greeting, they exchanged names and discussed what they expected from the mysterious class, beginning their adventure with excitement. The guy, who introduced himself as Jason, explained that his job was to protect Yuri, emphasizing the seriousness of their mission and the importance of cooperation. Yuri revealed that he wears a helmet to hide his identity, but hoped that despite this, they would be able to establish a good relationship with the protagonist. Her mood did not improve, and she remained irritated about the incident with Michael. Yuri just wanted to see the girl, so he didn't share information about the class, trying to maintain the intrigue. Class Z was new this year. Previously, students were sorted by their academic performance, but now those with special abilities were gathered, which aroused even more interest and questions from Rui and Elena. This class brought together talented and unique individuals, creating an atmosphere of creativity and an unconventional approach to learning. If they were judged by level, they would have been placed in Class A, but their outstanding abilities made them part of Class Z, a place for students with unique talents. The management assigned them to Class Z, considering their abilities and potential. The girl didn't understand whether Yuri was following them, because everything seemed suspicious and mysterious, but it didn't matter much to her. She felt confident around the guy. Her pace was too fast, and the guy politely asked her to slow down so they could walk together and enjoy the moment. Jason was confused as to why they needed to follow this couple, and it made him doubt the mission. Class Z turned out to be full of mischief makers, and even Yuri had a hard time keeping them under control. Jason believed that Rui had the skills and determination to meet the challenges and bring order to this classroom. Since Yuri relies on Rui so much, it means that he has invested a lot of hope in him, and now Rui must justify them. His curiosity grew, and he couldn't wait to unravel the mystery of Class Z and understand what made it so special. Having changed clothes, the boy and the girl decided to go on reconnaissance to find out more about the students and the characteristics of this mysterious group. At first glance, nothing seemed strange or unusual in the classroom. Rui hoped to find true friends and build warm relationships among the students, believing that this was possible despite their unique abilities and oddities. Having recognized Rui, the students began to wonder if he was the one who won the duel at the exam, which caused him slight surprise and joy. His achievements were known. After his confirmation, their reaction was strange, as if they wanted to know more and were especially interested in his story. Elena was prepared to fight, holding her sword at the ready if the situation escalated, expressing her determination to protect herself and Rui. To everyone's surprise, the boy simply shook Rui's hand, expressing recognition and admiration, praising his impressive duel. He continued to admire Rui, as if worshipping his skill as a duelist, calling him a magnificent and masterful fighter. Jack, who has skills in explosive magic, has attracted everyone's attention, becoming a popular figure in Class Z. Michael and Alex stood next to him, and the acquaintance with his classmates became warmer and more informative. Jack hoped that Rui would be able to find a common language with them, which was important both for him and for the entire Class Z. The warm welcome from the students dispelled Rui's fears, and he felt ready to meet new people and have adventures in this unusual class. The girls also supported the boys, greeting them with smiles and starting a conversation, which created a friendly atmosphere. Ruya was particularly interested in one of the students, and he started a conversation with curiosity, feeling that this class would give him many interesting acquaintances and impressions. The student showed aggression, which shocked Rui and made him feel insecure. The main characters were perplexed, not understanding what could have caused such a reaction, and assumed that they could have accidentally caused discontent. Rui, being from a village, might not have known some of the city's customs, which could explain the negative attitude towards him. In the capital, owning beastmen slaves was prohibited, but in other cities it was still practiced, causing conflicts between beastmen and ordinary people. Ruya wondered if he could establish a relationship with this aggressive student despite the initial tension. When Elena tried to talk to him, his attention was distracted by another girl in the class, which left Elena confused and slightly irritated. He couldn't help but notice her striking beauty, as if she had stepped out of a painting, which immediately attracted his interest. Rui greeted the girl, slightly hesitantly, trying to be polite, but she coldly ignored him, leaving him a little hurt and disappointed. Elena was outraged by her behavior, shocked by how the girl dared to neglect the guy so much, which caused her indignation. The girl haughtily declared that they had nothing to talk about, which only increased the irritation of Elena and Rui. Elena felt disappointed. This answer completely contradicted their hopes for a friendly interaction with the students. Elena was on the verge of an explosion, irritated to the limit by the girl's rude behavior and ready to give vent to her emotions. Yuri noticed the tension and jokingly noted that Rui seemed to have already managed to establish relationships with those around him. He also warned that the teacher was approaching and they needed to take their seats. Yuri demonstratively introduced himself again, expressing his friendliness and willingness to communicate, despite the recent incident. Rui felt satisfied with the new class. Now his life at the academy begins, full of new challenges and adventures. One day, a teacher enthusiastically explained important knowledge to his students. She explained how water magic uses moisture from the air for its own purposes, sharing magical secrets. Rui disagreed and suggested that water magic could also control underground waters by showing its vision. 2 weeks had passed since their arrival, and the heroes were actively studying magic, getting used to their new training. Everyone was amazed at how clearly Rui explained complex things, causing admiration among students and teachers. When they returned from practice, all the chairs were scattered around the classroom, which caused surprise and bewilderment. The children were outraged, not understanding who had caused such a mess, and this irritated them. One of the guys decided to investigate and ask questions to understand what happened. He was determined to find the culprit, confident that somewhere there were traces or clues that would help solve the mystery. Oscar began using magical analysis to find traces that could lead to whoever was causing chaos in the classroom. Rui expected exactly this, relying on Oscar's magical skills to solve the mystery. Oscar proudly stated that he developed these skills thanks to Rui's help, which caused surprise and interest among the others. Training and lessons with Rui helped him not only analyze individual objects, but also develop the ability to conduct deeper magical research. Oscar discovered hair and shoe prints from a classmate, which became the key to solving the mystery of who had caused the mess. His skills in magical analysis allowed him to notice things that escaped the notice of others. The boy Oscar suspected had been banished from the village for abusing magic, which explained his hostile behavior. He was, however, happy to use his abilities to help solve this mystery and feel important. The boy shared information about who broke into the classroom and created chaos, offering his observations to solve the incident. Oscar, not wanting to get involved in possible conflicts, decided to stay on the sidelines and not interfere. He relied on his friend, assuring him that he could handle it himself, expressing trust and confidence in his abilities. Meanwhile, Jack, Alex, and Michael were nearby, ready to support their friends and come to the rescue if needed. Everyone had one goal: to catch the offender who caused the disorder in order to restore order and peace in the academy. Jack asked the protagonist if he could begin, expressing his willingness to intervene and assist in the investigation. The boys broke down the door and burst into the classroom, determined to find the intruder. They were confident of their victory, trusting in their skills and dedication to the task, striving to solve the mystery of the disorder. All the suspects seemed to be planning to pretend innocence and hide their involvement. A stranger approached them, and the protagonist felt that he had seen him somewhere before, perhaps among aristocrats or representatives of the upper class. The protagonist apologized for their sudden intrusion and explained that one of the bullies had disrupted the lesson and they were trying to find the culprit in order to restore order. The stranger, hesitant, asked if it was too early to draw such conclusions and expressed skepticism about their assumptions. He also noted that there are many students from disadvantaged families in their class, which could complicate the search for the culprit. After these words, Jack became furious, ready to attack the stranger, defending the honor of his class and friends. Rui quickly realized that the stranger was trying to anger them and began to devise a strategy to remain calm and conduct the investigation effectively. He asked Jack to trust him and follow his plan so that everything would go smoothly. The guy took something out of his pocket, arousing everyone's interest. The main characters began to carefully study the hair that Oscar found in the classroom, hoping that it would lead them to the culprit and reveal important clues. The stranger curiously asked how Oscar was able to determine who the hair belonged to, showing interest in his magical methods. Oscar explained that they had done a genetic analysis and compared the data to known samples to determine the owner, then went over the process briefly so everyone could understand. He also added that he used his ability called reverse time to restore the genetic information and reveal the identity of the hair's owner. The stranger was stunned to learn that the ability time reversal had been used. Such a rare and powerful magic. The main characters used it to return hair to the owner's head, which amazed everyone with its power. It turned out that the hair belonged to a stranger, and he was involved in the incident with the thrown chairs. The stranger was perplexed, not understanding how this was possible, because time magic is not available to everyone, even among the most powerful magicians. The stranger pointed his wand at Rui, preparing to use his magical abilities in response to their exposure. He admitted that he was going to purge the class and expel the protagonist from the class, implying a serious punishment. The stranger warned everyone that they too should prepare for the consequences of his cleansing, which would affect the entire atmosphere in the classroom. Rui noted that threatening with a magic wand without good reason was contrary not only to school rules, but also to the laws of magic in general. The protagonist realized that this was self-defense, and now he could act without restraint. It was time to protect himself and his friends. Classmates began to develop a joint strategy to prevent negative consequences and protect their class. The man ordered everyone to shoot, calling for active action. The protagonist noticed that people were gathering near the classroom and realized that they needed to avoid direct attacks. Michael decided to take responsibility and act independently in the current situation. Michael used the wall technique to protect himself and his comrades from attacks. Jack praised Michael and stated that he would take control of the situation, preparing for decisive action. He decided to use his powerful bomb move to deal with the threat posed by the stranger. As a result, all the wands in the hands of their owners exploded, causing instant chaos and panic in the classroom. The surprise explosion was not part of their plan, and they were counting on an easier victory. Now the students realized that things had not gone as they had expected. They began to discuss precautions and rules for using magic to avoid similar incidents in the future. At this time, one of those present was preparing to deliver a powerful blow to Alex. His determination and aggression could be seen in his eyes. Not wanting to give his opponent an easy victory, Alex activated the power-up in his legs to dodge and continue the fight. Due to the guy's unexpected reaction, his opponent missed. The blow was completely useless. All further attempts to harm him also failed, as his incredible agility made him out of reach. He mocked them, declaring that they were too slow with such ease, as if he could yawn without fear of anything. No one could pinpoint his location. He remained a mystery to everyone. But at that moment, Alex suddenly appeared and delivered the decisive blow, which proved irresistible. Alex clearly overdid it, knocking out his opponents completely. Not only did he strike, but he overestimated his strength, leaving them without the ability to resist. Grabbing one by the throat, Alex asked, "Who's the bad guy now?" Under pressure, he began to beg for mercy, promising to fulfill any demands. However, the condition was clear. He had to obey not only Alex, but also the others, following their orders. The protagonist was ready to deliver the decisive blow in the epic battle. The blow was so devastating that the enemy turned and fell, groaning in pain, and the others were stunned by its power. He smashed his body through the wall, leaving a huge hole in it, causing shock among all witnesses. The spectacle was incredibly impressive, causing everyone around to applaud the hero. His friends were proud to be part of this victory and witness his valor. They raised their hands, symbolizing strong friendship and unity. However, when Yuri learned of the feat, he was overcome with rage. He clearly did not approve of their actions and was not proud. Jack, cleaning up the aftermath, understood that he himself was to blame for the situation getting to this point. Yuri was tormented by self-accusations for not being able to keep track of them. The promise to never allow such incidents to happen again calmed everyone down, and they felt the tension leave their souls. The protagonist approached Yuri and sincerely apologized, realizing that he may have suffered because of their actions. He honestly admitted that when he started this business, he expected that similar situations would arise often. Yuri's voice was tired, as if reflecting the hardships of a long, restless day. Due to the investigation of their actions, Yuri was unable to get enough sleep. Rui felt a great deal of anxiety and discomfort, realizing that his actions had caused tension in their relationship, and now communication with his friend had become awkward. The protagonist noticed that everyone around him continued to train with diligence, and his own worries seemed insignificant in comparison to their determination. Inspired by this, he decided to take a walk to relax and take his mind off the unpleasant situation. As he was leaving the classroom, he saw a stranger with a smile on his face who greeted him warmly. This gesture of goodwill seemed to relieve him of the tension from the recent events. The stranger, showing interest, asked if he was that same Rui. The protagonist, apologizing for his sudden appearance, explained that his mood and desire to talk arose after recent events. It turned out that the guy's name was Madison and he was in 2A, which gave their meeting a special flavor. Rui shook his hand warmly, expressing respect and a willingness to communicate in a friendly manner. Madison was simply curious, as there had been rumors about Rui and he wanted to see him in person. Oddly enough, the rumors Madison heard were related to a recent incident that everyone was talking about. Madison quickly became close to Rui, and their conversation became more friendly and frank. He felt like he was ready to share something important and personal. His trusting gaze made it clear that he had a story he wanted to tell, and Rui was ready to listen. Rui listened carefully and realized that even Madison, being strong, realized that there would always be people even more powerful and terrible. However, Rui himself was concerned about his own charisma and ability to influence others. Rui thanked Madison heartily for his honesty and warning about powerful people, feeling that his new friend truly cared about his well-being. However, inside, Rui knew that there were at least two people whose power and influence far exceeded his own. Madison, noticing this, decided that perhaps he had been worrying in vain, since meeting such people was unlikely, and decided to focus on the present. As they said goodbye, Madison said that it was time for him to go, leaving Roy with the thought that their meeting had been unexpected and interesting. The protagonist realized that Madison was a mysterious person, and the short meeting left many questions in his soul. Unexpectedly, Madison said goodbye and quickly left, leaving Rui with a feeling of unsolved secrets. There were riddles in Rui's eyes that he had yet to solve. Returning home, he immediately collapsed on the bed, realizing how tired he was after a hard day. Rui was physically and emotionally exhausted from the long efforts to rebuild the damaged classroom, but he noted with pride that, despite the difficulties, he had completed the task, and his day ended with a feeling of satisfaction. Rui woke up and, looking around in confusion, could not understand whether it was morning or still twilight. A feeling of confusion came over him as he realized that he was in an unknown place, far from his usual surroundings, which made him feel uneasy and surprised. Despite the strangeness of the place, Rui was sure that his little sister and Rio would always come to the rescue. But suddenly, he was overcome with fear as he realized that he could not feel anything, and thoughts that this could be an endless hell began to overcome him. Suddenly, the girl came up from behind and gently asked him to calm down, as if sensing his anxiety. She confirmed his worst suspicions. It really was an endless hell. Inviting Rui to sit at the table, she suggested talking and trying to figure out this strange situation they found themselves in. Rui felt a slight tension and hesitation as he sat at the table in this mysterious setting. Before drinking the offered tea, he thought for a moment whether it was worth doing, because the situation was unclear. But having overcome his doubts, Rui was pleasantly surprised. The tea turned out to be exquisite, and its warmth instantly relaxed him. Holding the cup, he couldn't help but ask about the girl's identity and her connection to this strange place. She introduced herself as Chris and said that she had been assigned to run this endless hell, adding even more mystery to their meeting. The protagonist instantly got into a fighting stance, feeling a sudden surge of tension and danger. Chris again asked him to calm down, assuring him that she was not an enemy and that her intentions were good. Despite this, feelings of uncertainty and uneasiness did not leave him. Rui needed a clear explanation of his role and purpose in this strange place. It turned out that everything was simpler than he thought. Rui accidentally removed the seal from the endless hell. This happened because in the real world, he received an item from a hero who destroyed the magical protection that protected this hell. Rui was shocked by what he heard. The realization that he had accidentally released an endless hell was a real shock to him. Remembering the moment when he supported Charlotte's sword and felt a strange power, Rui realized that it was then that the seal was removed, opening the doors of endless hell. Rui learned that by collecting all of the hero's items, he would be able to completely remove the seal from the endless hell and return to the real world. He thought that a joint effort with Charlotte might be more effective and safer than searching alone for a hero he knew nothing about. He was puzzled as to why Chris, who ran this place, was willing to reveal the way to remove the seal. Chris admitted that the purpose of the endless hell had already been fulfilled, and she herself found it strange that it still existed, so she decided to help Rui to fix this situation. Rui was completely confused. The information about the purpose of the endless hell took him by surprise. He felt even more confused and insecure when he learned that the girl was not allowed to reveal the details of this goal, realizing that the situation was much more complicated than it seemed. Sincerely apologizing, the girl explained that she could not divulge the details, but was ready to help him find answers together. The girl explained that Rui was not physically here, so by collecting all of the hero's items and removing the seal, he would be able to return to the real world. It turned out that he was summoned to this world to gain experience and skills necessary to complete the task of collecting items and removing the seal from the endless hell. Now Rui began to understand his role in this world, ready to accept the challenge and help Chris, because he had the opportunity to develop the skills that would be needed to carry out this important mission. Focusing on the swords, Rui was surprised to see them materialize in front of him, ready to use. This feeling of control over the world was thrilling. Chris wasted no time in decisively announcing the start of training, and Rui was ready to learn how to use his new swords. Under the influence of unknown forces, he instantly dodged the blow, surprising both himself and Chris. She realized that Rui had unique abilities that were just beginning to manifest. Rui was shocked as he suddenly dodged the blow, feeling like his head was about to fly off in surprise. In the final stage of the training, Chris sternly warned that death in this world meant the end in reality, giving the situation additional weight. She reminded him that this was just training, and that Rui had an exam ahead that would test his abilities and readiness. Rui noticed that Chris, despite her appearance, was incredibly strong and masterful with a sword, earning him respect. Chris noticed that Rui had no training in swordsmanship, and decided that they had a lot of work to do to develop his skills and be successful. Although Rui didn't have much experience, he already had some techniques and was ready to use them. He used the glitter technique, creating a bright flash of light to blind the opponent and gain an advantage. However, Chris remained calm. Her face did not show any anxiety, which showed her confidence. Rui realized that he had to rely on intelligence and tactics to compensate for his lack of speed. Under the pressure of the fight, his nerves gave out, and he decided to activate the Super Boost to increase his abilities and improve his chances of winning. With his Super Boost activated, Rui put all his strength into a powerful strike, trying to turn the tide of the fight in his favor. His determination and strength impressed Chris, and the battle became much more intense, with both fighters fighting at the limit of their abilities. With the use of the magical body, Rui gained additional strength and agility, making his attacks even more powerful and dangerous. But Chris continued to resist. However, with this powerful strike, Rui was able to establish his superiority, highlighting his unique abilities, and even Chris, despite her strength, was forced to give in. Realizing that further fighting was futile, Chris asked to stop. Realizing that Rui was strong due to his ability to adapt to any situation, not limited to one form. Chris, despite being defeated, quickly reacted, using her shield to block Rui's powerful attack and defend herself. The protagonist continued to demonstrate his adaptability and magical powers, overcoming obstacles and impressing Chris with his incredible skills. She decided that she needed to know more about this mysterious guy. Gathering his last strength, Rui prepared for the decisive blow, realizing that it would determine the outcome of the battle. Suddenly, Rui felt a sharp pain in his head and began to lose consciousness, which caused alarm to both him and Chris. There were only moments left before his victory, but this unexpected fainting spell stopped him on his way to triumph, leaving him in bewilderment and pain. Chris had no intention of killing him, and his weak body acted as a defense when he was on the edge. A symbol of hope for Rui could be the cherry blossom, which represents renewal and a bright future after all the trials he has gone through. Chris understood that the fate of the world depended on Rui, and she believed that he would cope with the difficult task that lay before him. When Rui woke up, his body was aching in pain, probably due to the intense training and fighting in the endless hell. He noticed the lack of wounds on his body and began to realize that he may never have physically been in this place. Everything was happening in another dimension or state. The dimension slit was described as an advanced technology that mixed magic and qigong. This combination created a rift that could explain everything that happened in the endless hell. Fighting an opponent of equal strength, Rui realized that even without a weapon, he could use magic to compensate for the gaps in his sword technique, increasing his combat power. He had doubts that the girl could be better than him in a fight, which gave rise to insecurity. By focusing on training, he realized that this was the path to improving his skills. The inner fire and determination burned within him, and he was ready to work hard to become stronger and better. The next day, when Rui came to school, he was immediately greeted warmly and felt part of the community, preparing for new challenges. During breaks, not knowing what to do, the friends decided to spend time in friendly conversation, discussing past events and sharing plans for the future. Rui looked into the distance, and suddenly someone's presence caught his attention. It was Yuri's bodyguard, who, to his surprise, heard Rui's request for help, although his job usually consisted of ensuring the safety of his boss. With bitterness in his voice, Rui told how he was again driven out of the place where he had found temporary refuge. Seeking self-improvement, he asked his bodyguard to teach him the art of swordsmanship. To further his learning success, Rui also turned to Charlotte for help. During the chaotic duel, with Charlotte attacking and him defending, Rui realized that he needed to master both attack and defense to become a true swordmaster. With pride and determination in his eyes, Rui declared that he would pass on the legendary technique known as the King's Protecting Sword. Thus began an exchange of knowledge. Rui taught Charlotte magic, and she became his mentor in swordsmanship. This alliance promised not only to strengthen their skills, but also to strengthen their friendship and mutual respect. He silently observed the diligence of those around him. Their striving for perfection inspired him to develop himself. Rui happily immersed himself in this dynamic atmosphere, determined to become stronger by absorbing the influence of those around him and improving along with them. They decided to move towards their goals gradually, supporting each other along the way, making efforts to improve together. The main character supported his friend in every possible way, inspiring him to achieve his goals and staying close. After some time, Rui again found himself in an endless hell, continuing to train, striving for perfection. Now his look was more confident, and he approached training with more determination and self-confidence. His remarkable progress inspired not only himself but also those around him, including his girlfriend, whose faith in his abilities grew stronger and stronger. They continued to support him on his path to excellence. Rui had become so good that he was even able to injure a girl in a training fight, which was clear evidence of his growth and improvement in fighting skills. She noticed his hard work and realized that his determination and hard work had not gone unnoticed. Rui openly admitted that he has many teachers and is taught by masters with outstanding sword skills. Chris noticed that Rui was serious and completely focused on achieving his goals, realizing that it had become a real priority for him. Rui worriedly asked why his little sister and Rio weren't in the endless hell with him. Chris explained that they were on different floors of an endless hell, separated by this world, but still in contact. This information about the second floor made Rui very interested and eager to explore unknown areas to possibly meet his sister and Rio. However, Chris was forbidden to tell who was on the second floor, which added even more mystery and intrigue to their communication. The main character was a little upset to learn that he would not be able to get information about his sister and Rio, because his hope for a quick meeting was overshadowed by the ban. Chris suddenly admitted that Rui seemed to have met the hero's granddaughter in his world, which caused surprise and joy among everyone. It turned out to be Charlotte, and Rui confirmed that they were friends, which strengthened their bond and understanding. At first, Charlotte treated him with displeasure, but after their duel, their relationship changed. She began to see Rui as a true friend and ally. It turns out that Charlotte is actually very lonely and strives to become stronger, not only for herself, but for others as well. This fact adds depth to her character and motivation. Chris also believed in happiness, but it was important for her to share this joy with others, striving to become stronger and more useful. Rui admitted that their interaction helped him as much as it helped her. It became a mutual source of inspiration, as they supported each other in their search for strength and meaning in life. It had been 6 hours, and Rui was starting to become transparent, which meant that they were about to say goodbye. They left important lessons and inspiration for future achievements in their hearts. Before leaving, Chris stopped Rui to thank him and promised that she would continue to strive for excellence in his absence. She warned him about the Genesis sect, cautioning him of the possible dangers he might encounter along the way. Although Chris couldn't reveal the details, she assured Rui that as he uncovered the secrets of the endless hell, he would inevitably have to learn more about the Genesis sect. She stressed that he must be vigilant and careful, otherwise he risks being left with nothing when he reveals the secrets of the endless hell and this mysterious sect. Having received important information, Rui returned to his world, full of hope for future encounters and a deeper understanding of the secrets of the endless hell. It was clear from Chris's expression that she was genuinely worried about him, and their growing bond and friendship became noticeable. When the change came, they parted with regret, promising to meet again, each continuing their studies and adventures in their own worlds. Rui felt empty without her presence, as if something important and special had disappeared from his life. Since Charlotte was busy, he had to find another companion to relieve his boredom and loneliness by arranging a walk. Feeling hungry, Rui decided to go out to eat to satisfy his appetite and spend time usefully. But suddenly he heard a fight nearby, which made him wary and vigilant before moving on. The protagonist decided to intervene and sort out the problem, ready to help if necessary. An angry boy in class started an argument, and the situation seemed to be escalating. It was Wolf, whom the hero had already encountered, knowing about his hot temper. The hero approached Wolf, trying to understand the reason for the conflict. He was asked to talk to a classmate because he was closer to Wolf and could resolve the situation. The situation was getting tense. Everyone felt the growing tension and anger. The man, dissatisfied with the aggression, said that he hated the human world, which angered the guy, causing an outburst of emotions. Rui intervened, showing interest in the conflict, and offered to sort out the situation. A classmate was accused of stealing goods, which caused the dispute. The guy asked to explain what happened in order to understand and help resolve the conflict. The man said he was certain the theft had occurred, claiming the thief had broken into his store and that the charges were true. After he left, it became clear that the store window had been smashed, adding to the mystery of what was happening. Having called the police, the man began searching himself and found the stolen goods at his classmates, which helped resolve the conflict. However, he doubted that the boy acted alone, suspecting that he had help. The man wondered if there were hidden details he had missed in this story. The boy often heard how beastmen were accused without reason, and he was afraid that he might be arrested without evidence. The main character decided to find the real thief himself in order to prove his innocence and restore justice in this confusing situation. However, these words failed to relieve the tension, and the situation remained difficult. Rui asked how fast his classmate ran, trying to find clues to determine his guilt or innocence. The main character decided to use magic to solve the mystery and find the true thief. He used a smokescreen to create chaos and buy time to act. They instantly disappeared from the man's sight, leaving him confused and panicked. They hurried to leave the danger zone, and Rui directed the boy to a safe place, warning him about the consequences of theft and conflict. The man was left in confusion, wondering where his classmates had disappeared to and tormented by unresolved questions. He was filled with rage, and his emotions were so strong that he could make rash decisions while trying to solve this mystery. He was angry at the men around him for not noticing the boy's escape, which only increased his anger and frustration. They were at a loss as to how to cope with the chaos and unexpected turn of events. We decided that we needed to turn to the academy for help, so that experienced people could help us figure it out. One went for help, and the other began searching to act as quickly as possible. Classmates, hiding on the roof, watched what was happening, trying to stay away from the epicenter of the conflict. With such rapid actions, the protagonist could attract the attention of the local group of knights, which would only inflame the already tense atmosphere. The guy didn't give up. His determination only grew stronger. He was full of hope and was determined to find the real criminal. Wolf, however, felt wary of all this commotion. Wolf did not understand why the heroes got involved in this adventure and was sure that the mysterious stranger was hiding sinister plans. But the guy stubbornly convinced him otherwise, revealing his motives and belief that this adventure would help uncover important secrets and save lives. Considering his classmate a true friend, Wolf decided to support him and help him in this difficult matter. The guy was stunned, not expecting to hear such words, and felt sincere gratitude. He didn't understand how everything had changed. After all, before Wolf only growled and expressed dissatisfaction, but now he was ready to help. Wolf still didn't understand what the guy's true goal was. The protagonist, having revealed his plan, suggested returning to where the mysterious bottle was found. assuring that this would help reveal important secrets. But when they arrived at the scene, there were no traces or evidence left. The guy excitedly asked the company to give him this beautifully decorated bottle of wine, as if he had a clear plan. Upon receiving the bottle, the boy used magical analysis, dazzlingly revealing its origins and ancient history, as if opening a door to new worlds. He enthusiastically admitted that this magical knowledge was passed on to him by a close friend who possessed the wisdom of ancient texts. But despite his enthusiasm, the hero understood that his mastery of magic was far from perfect, and that he still had a lot of study and practice ahead of him. Suddenly, in the silence of the magical atmosphere, the protagonist sensed something and broke the silence, inviting everyone to go in an unknown direction, as if he was expecting an important discovery. Without explaining anything to his friend, he suddenly rushed forward, as if he was rushing to something urgent, leaving everyone in bewilderment and intrigue. Wolf noticed that Rui was moving at an inhuman speed, which surprised and alarmed him, making him wonder about his friend's hidden abilities. After Wolf's words, the protagonist accelerated even more, as if he was filled with an inexplicable energy leading him to an unknown goal. Moments later, as if they had traveled through time and space, they found themselves in place, sensing what lay ahead. The tracks led into the building, as if beckoning them to explore the secrets hidden within. Without thinking twice, the guy decided to return the bottle, realizing that exploring the mysterious place would require a lot of time and effort. Wolf, amazed by what was happening, could not understand whether this was the barn they were looking for, or whether they were faced with a new mystery. The protagonist was eager to enter. His heart beat in time with the secrets behind the doors, and he was eager to reveal them. And suddenly, in the midst of their exploration, Charlotte, who had been searching for them for a long time without success, appeared, interrupting the moment of excitement and mystery. Charlotte admitted that she came for them, expressing deep concern and anxiety for their safety, wanting to support them in this adventure. She said she used magic to find them, as if connecting with the world around her to be there for them in times of need. However, it was not easy for her, and Charlotte admitted that it took a lot of effort to find them in this mysterious place. When she appeared in front of them, the boys immediately thought that Charlotte might have come to lead them back to safety, or even catch them. They breathed a sigh of relief when Charlotte confirmed that she had come to help, not confront them, supporting them on this mysterious journey. Charlotte said that she was summoned to the royal palace to train warriors in magic, but then an urgent request was received to find them. These words upset the protagonist, crushing his hopes and leaving him in a state of disappointment and bewilderment. Wolf, not wanting to submit to Charlotte so easily, felt an internal rebellion and determination to continue the research despite the difficulties. However, from her reaction it was clear that she was not trying to catch them, and perhaps even shared their desire to explore the mysterious place. Suddenly, Charlotte changed her mind and offered her full support, which brought relief and a sense of support to the heroes. The protagonist, filled with gratitude and joy, hugged Charlotte tightly, happy that they would be able to explore this mysterious world together. Charlotte blushed from the unexpected hug, but at the same time she felt warmth and support that she had long lacked. Wolf, in an effort to diffuse the situation, began to speak animatedly, trying to distract everyone and soften the awkwardness of the moment. He couldn't understand why Charlotte decided to help, since she was the hero's granddaughter, and her reputation could suffer if she supported the beastmen. She explained that abandoning people in trouble is not a sign of valor, and her decision to help has nothing to do with how he looks to her. The guy was slightly stunned by her words, feeling his internal conflict subside, receiving unexpected support and understanding. Suddenly, for some unknown reason, Charlotte took up her sword, as if preparing for something unknown, increasing the atmosphere of mystery and uncertainty. Feeling the tension growing, they decided to act faster, realizing that new challenges and secrets lay ahead, and they had little time. When they opened the doors, they were stunned. A world of wonders and mysteries opened before them, ready to be explored. They found themselves in a room full of incredible wealth and elegance, as if they had entered a treasure trove they had never even dreamed of. The inside was much more spacious than Charlotte had expected, and she appreciated the hidden possibilities of this place. The guy noticed that everything here looked suspicious, and was sure that many of the items had been stolen or acquired dishonestly. Most likely, it was a secret warehouse of a thieves' group where the stolen treasures were stored, and they suddenly found themselves in the very center of criminal machinations. The protagonist believed that it was better to inform the knights or authorities about what he had found as quickly as possible in order to stop the criminals and restore order. But suddenly, guns were pointed at them, surrounded by an ominous aura, and the situation instantly became dangerous. Several dozen people surrounded them, creating an atmosphere of tension and hostility where every action could be decisive. A man approached them and asked if they were lost, adding a bit of clarity and relief, although they still didn't fully understand what was going on. His name was Gulam, and he turned out to be the gang leader in charge of the whole situation. They realized that they were dealing with the key figure in this incident. Gulam appeared to be an influential figure in the criminal world, which increased tensions and required caution in communication. However, the guy doubted that this man was really the leader of the thieves. His unusual appearance or behavior raised questions, adding mystery to what was happening. He made his money by stealing, but the protagonist was determined not to let him take advantage of the loot and believed that justice should prevail. He was ready to stop a thief and put a stop to his criminal activities, even if it meant facing a crime boss. The man suddenly showed that he seemed to have seen the hero somewhere, and his gaze became suspicious and puzzled. He soon mysteriously remarked that he was lucky to meet a hero, which surprised everyone. The man admitted that he didn't expect his target to find him, adding even more mystery to the situation. Charlotte drew her sword with determination and assumed a fighting stance, preparing to defend herself, her determination evident despite the tense situation. Wolf was angry that the man was stealing goods from souvenir shops, which could affect his reputation among locals, and loudly expressed his indignation. The man couldn't even remember which shop he stole the goods from. His inattention added to the mystery. He didn't deny that some of his men might have stolen something, but he didn't consider it a serious problem. The guy mockingly bragged about where all the goods were hidden, clearly provoking the others. After these words, it was clear he would not be forgiven. The guy would face inevitable reprisals. The man realized that for such an act, the guy had already received his share of troubles. In the end, he offered a humiliating apology, offering to become his master, laughing at the situation. Wolf was shocked and already on the verge of exploding. He said sarcastically that he just had a rich buyer for the guy. Then he added that people quickly break down and do not live long in such conditions. His nerves couldn't take it anymore, and he was ready to destroy everyone around him. But the main character stopped him in time and thus prevented a fight. He was sure that they simply wanted to anger him, and he should not give in to this. Charlotte, he asked her to shut up because she herself was looking down on him. The guy asked them not to think about it because they don't think so. He's just talking nonsense. These words also slightly surprised Wolf, because he had apparently never heard anything like this before. After that, he really calmed down a little and came to his senses. The main character hoped that the guy had learned his lesson and understood everything. Wolf's gaze shifted to Rui's bloody fist. He admitted that he would pay the man back for insulting his friend. The man ordered his subordinates to deal with the guy because he sees him as a huge problem. Their eyes lit up with excitement for a fight. In addition, the man asked not to hit Ryu in the face, thereby mocking him. The man realized that if he sold him to perverts who loved pretty boys, they would pay a lot for it. It sounded disgusting. But after some time, the man's gaze changed very abruptly. He was scared. The subordinates' fingers were broken mercilessly. Every single one of them. The protagonist used the golden shell and finger takeoff techniques, causing the enemy to tremble with fear. The man was horrified, not understanding who he was facing. But the main character remained calm, noticing how the gun in the enemy's hands began to shake. The man tried his best to look calm, but his fear was obvious. And then he even ordered them to open fire. Well, the guy had an idea of what to use to protect them. He used a technique called the crane. Wolf had never seen such a technique before, and everyone present had already run out of ammunition. And now the friends had a chance, but they had to try not to damage what they had stolen. Rui dealt with his opponents with ease and did not see them as a danger. And Charlotte helped him at this time, as always. She asked to leave someone with her. Their team worked really well together, which brought results. Wolf was stunned by the sequence of attacks as they defended each other's blind spots. And after some time, everyone present was lying unconscious. The man had no choice but to shoot the standing guy. At this time, Wolf turned away and did not notice the bullet flying towards him. In a split second, she had to approach the guy. When he noticed everything, he became very scared and didn't know what to do. Rui noticed this too and realized that he needed to do something. The main character began to approach the guy in order to help him. And a split second later, screams were heard in the building and blood was flowing. Wolf was informed that he was eagerly awaited as the harbinger of an important event. He was clearly late. Time was slipping away and the meeting turned into a painful wait. Burning with curiosity, he could not understand the reason for such a mysterious invitation. He was brought out, hinting at something mysterious, like a curtain rising before a mysterious performance. The boys wanted to show the wolf to their peers, as if opening the curtain to a frightening hidden world. Suddenly, guns were pointed at him, creating tension like a dark scene in a movie where the ending is yet to come. For some reason, he was told that he was lucky, as if fate had unexpectedly given him a chance. At that moment, the wolf realized that he had been lured into a trap, as part of a secret plot to sell him as a commodity. Mistrust enveloped him like a thick fog, and it seemed impossible to comprehend how dark their plans were. Shock gave way to raging anger like a fire flaring up after a long lull. The boys mockingly asked if the wolf believed that he could be friends with people, as if trying to undermine his faith in his dreams. After this, the wolf firmly decided not to trust people anymore, vowing to avoid deception and betrayal. But remembering how Rui saved him from a bullet, he realized that even in the darkest moments there is light, and he reconsidered his beliefs with new hope. Rui explained his actions by saying that for him, the wolf was the same as everyone else, and his inhuman nature did not matter. He added that all people, like the wolf, are just fugitives, searching for their way in the labyrinth of life, striving to find their true essence. Rui didn't want Wolf to change, realizing that behind the rough exterior lurked a kind and sensitive soul. Wolf often faced discrimination from teachers and peers, which irritated him and made him feel misunderstood. Charlotte immediately ran to him, concerned about the state of his friend, showing genuine concern in a moment of uncertainty. Wolf, having invited them to relax, decided to surprise them with something unusual himself, as if preparing a mysterious performance that was supposed to impress. Wolf finally decided to show them his true self without a mask, as if revealing his soul. A moment later, they saw his true form, a real wolf, revealing his secret essence to them. Charlotte suggested that it was an atavism that added to the mystery of the situation, as if revealing not only the wolf, but also the secrets of nature itself. Charlotte had heard about this before, as if a new world of secrets had opened up to her, which she had only briefly touched upon in her knowledge. Beastmen were once able to change their appearance like ancient legends come to life. These days, very few people are born with this ability, and this guy was one of the rare creatures that legends told about. Those who tried to harm the wolf soon regretted it, for he easily overpowered them, leaving them helpless and frustrated. The bandits defended themselves desperately, as if they were caught in the middle of an unpredictable battle, trying to hold back the guy's attacks. Charlotte noticed how the wolf moved with incredible speed, like lightning in the hands of an invisible warrior. The guy easily destroyed all the guards, like an unstoppable whirlwind sweeping away everything in its path. After this, Jackson began calling someone, as if foreshadowing new events full of intrigue. Jackson had an unusual weapon in his arsenal, a wise parrot, a rare ally in cunning intrigues. Wolf was surprised to find such an unexpected and rare weapon in Jackson's possession, as if he had stumbled upon a hidden secret. Jackson, frightened, tried his best to make the parrot fly, but he couldn't cope, as if he had encountered an unexpected obstacle. The boy couldn't let Jackson do this, feeling that he had to take responsibility and protect someone who couldn't protect himself. Jackson realized that he would have to sacrifice something, as if he were facing a difficult choice for the sake of a higher purpose. In the end, someone had to take responsibility for the situation, as if challenging themselves. The unidentified substance began to turn into a monster, as if a beast with an unpredictable threat was emerging from the darkness. They were both shocked to be confronted with something that was beyond their understanding and expectations. Jackson was not surprised by the boy's fear, realizing that he was faced with something terrible and incomprehensible, causing natural horror. It was a rare species of slime that absorbed objects and grew in size, possessing unique properties. Jackson didn't want to use it against Wolf, but he knew he had provoked the situation and was forced to resort to extreme measures. Wolf knew he had to catch Jackson before he struck, knowing now was the time for decisive action. At first, he stood calmly, not posing a threat, as if he still retained his peaceful nature. But soon he suddenly moved, trying to grab Wolf, as if suddenly going on the attack. Luckily, Wolf easily dodged it, showing incredible agility and avoiding danger. However, the unconscious stranger turned out to be a victim, accidentally drawn into what was happening. In the strange bubble, the slime began to engulf the stranger, causing mysterious changes, as if drawing him into its mysterious essence. The slime swallowed the stranger, as if plunging him into the depths of the unknown, leaving only mysterious traces of what happened. When the enemy tried to grab Rui, Charlotte saved him in time with her precision and determination. The monster began to attack everyone around it like a whirlwind of chaos, turning everything into a fight for survival. They then realized that this A-rank monster was incredibly dangerous, with a power that exceeded their capabilities and perception. If the wolf remains in the barn, he will be sucked in, emphasizing the inevitability of danger and the persistence of the monster. He needed to leave urgently, as the threat was growing, requiring immediate action. The guy realized that he had to figure out how to fight this monster, a task that required special skills and ingenuity. After all, even experienced adventurers fight such monsters in groups, emphasizing the complexity and seriousness of his situation. Rui urged his friends not to give up, warning that if the monster was not stopped now, things would only get worse, as if urging them to take decisive action. Thanks to Charlotte's care, the boy was able to move, as if coming to life under her hands and regaining his strength. Rui decided to use the freezing technique, relying on his unique abilities to fight the monster. Suddenly, a huge block of ice formed around the monster, the result of the combined efforts of Rui, Charlotte, and the boy. The icy shell slowly but surely sealed its essence. The monster concentrated all his strength trying to get out of the trap. Every movement became a test of will for him. Finally, he managed to partially break free and immediately attacked the weakened Rui, using the moment of freedom to counterattack. Charlotte couldn't just watch. She stepped into the fight, ready to help Rui at this critical moment. At some point, the monster engulfed the entire barn, devouring the walls and ceiling, leaving only traces of its insatiable presence. The wolf insisted that they had to run, feeling the threat around them becoming more and more dangerous. But the boy and Charlotte did not agree, and entered into battle with the monster, deciding not to give up in the face of this incredible challenge. Charlotte used the heroic heart of Sakura technique, as if summoning strength and determination comparable to the beauty of the spring blossoms. Charlotte was ready to attack with determination, as if she was on the verge of a powerful throw towards the monster. Shrouded in mystery, she conveyed her silent trust to Rui, creating an atmosphere of anticipation and mystery around her. Rui, weaving confidence and hidden anxiety into his words, tied their hearts with an invisible thread of devotion and hope. The monster, consumed by the ice spell, disappeared under the cover of ice, leaving a frozen mystery, giving the scene a dark yet mesmerizing beauty. There was a glimmer of disbelief in the wolf's eyes, as if he was still wandering in the shadows of doubt, not believing that this giant of time and fate was really standing before them. Leaving the ice titan behind, they rushed after Jackson as if every second could determine their fate. After the battle, Rui realized that his powers had not yet fully recovered, as if the fire within him needed more time to reignite. With Charlotte by their side, they acknowledged that Jackson was far away, lost in the shadows of the horizon, and finding him seemed an impossible mission in the vast expanses of the night. Wolf, confident in his abilities, assured that he would be able to track Jackson by scent, like a real hunter ready to catch a traitor. Smiling and displaying an unexpected sense of humor, he asked the boy if he was going to climb him, seemingly ignoring the shadow of uncertainty in the air. Winking, Wolf added that if the guy decided to do this, it would become a symbol of absolute trust, warming the cold of the night with rare friendship and mutual understanding. With sadness in his voice, Wolf admitted that he couldn't fully trust people, as if shadows of suspicion still flickered in his eyes, filling his soul. Realizing that he was different from others, Wolf realized that this feeling of uniqueness had always been with him, accompanying him as an integral part of his being. With a trepidation in his voice, avoiding seeming benevolence, he asked for help, demonstrating a mixture of vulnerability and strength that gave his request special depth. Determined, Charlotte took it upon herself to save those who had been swallowed by the slug, going to deal with Jackson as if she were part of their complex destiny, full of secrets and trials. With a burst of friendship, the boy climbed onto Wolf's shoulders, and they rushed forward like a whirlwind, united by strength and determination, breaking the silence of the night with the sounds of their decisive march. Using a bracelet found by Jackson in the ruins of the capital, they deciphered mysterious symbols that illuminated their path like a glowing thread leading through the dark labyrinths of the past. The bracelet was decorated with a large stone, and it was not just a treasure. By selling it together with the mysterious bird, they could get a considerable sum, as if exchanging a riddle for wealth in a game of fate. Jackson vowed not to forgive, determined to resurrect his gang and avenge all the suffering he had endured, as if the shadow of vendetta was haunting him. The wolf, like an experienced hunter, caught the scent of a man and rushed in pursuit, as if dancing with the wind, following an invisible thread leading him to his goal. Learning that Jackson had already left the city, the wolf passed on the information like the wind carrying the news, and declared his determination to catch up with him in the desert night. Wolf, filled with foreboding, enthusiastically awaited the upcoming meeting as if he were reading a long-predicted chapter of his adventure. With the agility of a predator, he began to climb the wall like a shadow, slowly and silently disappearing into the night. A moment later, they disappeared over the fence, like shadows crossing the line between light and darkness, leaving behind the bustling city. Finding himself on the other side of the city labyrinth, the wolf asked what to do next, as if on the threshold of a new path that required a decisive choice. Rui insisted that they must attack Jackson immediately, without giving him a chance to escape, as if their strategy required decisive action to seize the moment of retaliation. Using his clever tactics, Rui played with gravity, approaching the goal with unwavering determination. Jackson, not understanding what was happening, was faced with the ridicule of the guy who now possessed the secrets of their power, and enjoyed this moment. It was time to move on to the next stage of the plan, as if the pieces of a puzzle were beginning to fit together into a complete picture of their adventure, ready to be completed. Now it was all up to the guy. All eyes were on him, waiting for his next moves, as if he was the key to their success. He began to rise, preparing to jump, and the tension in the air grew, foreshadowing a turning point in their destiny. With excitement and anxiety, he rose into the air, making a leap as if a wave of action had carried them into a new episode of this night's drama. The guy grinned and noted that they hadn't met for a long time, as if he was playing his own game and preparing for a cunning move in his secret plan. Jackson was stunned, not understanding how the guy managed to get through to him, as if their meeting was shrouded in mystery and riddles. In a vain attempt to buy his way out, Jackson offered the stolen items, but the guy, true to his principles, refused, showing that he was not interested in material values. Even when Jackson offered a woman as compensation, the boy remained adamant, warning him that he would not deviate from the path of his convictions, as if warning him against the darkness he was striving for. The guy confidently declared that all attempts to bribe him were useless. He already had a beloved. His words sounded as if he was defending his world from invasion. In response, the boy hit the man sharply, demonstrating his unyielding unwillingness to compromise and emphasizing his determination to act by force. Rui demonstrated the golden shell technique, turning the fight into a vibrant whirlwind of skill and elegance amidst the chaos. The blow was so powerful that Jackson was thrown several meters into the air, as if the force of the blow had thrown him up, defying gravity. The sudden turn of events gave them a chance to catch their breath, as if the tension had dissolved and the adventure had slowed down for a moment. The protagonist politely asked the parrot if he could come down, asking his exotic companion to land. As soon as the guy landed, he began to maneuver and called his friend to look after the parrot, creating a living picture of their well-coordinated team. With unexpected dexterity, Wolf caught Jackson as he landed, as if an invisible web of events had intertwined their destinies. The boy, carefully assessing every glance, asked Rui if he trusted him, making trust the central issue of their relationship. The protagonist joked with a smile that he didn't quite understand what the guy was talking about, adding humor to their conversation and relieving the tension. All that was left was to follow Charlotte as she continued her mission, opening new chapters of their adventurous path. The protagonist noticed the man's bracelet, which seemed strangely familiar to him, as if stirring up long-forgotten secrets of the past. The wolf turned to his friend, asking if anything unusual had happened, carefully observing his condition. In a short time, they found themselves next to Charlotte, as if their destinies had intertwined into a common stream of adventures, trusting in the will of events. Charlotte managed to help all the victims, making her good deeds an integral part of their fight for justice. At this point, the knights appeared, symbols of protection and honor, adding mystery and nobility to their plot. Now they had to prove Wolf's innocence, as if a new stage had begun where truth and justice once again hung by a thread. This was the hardest part, solving the mystery and proving innocence, requiring willpower and coordinated work. Yuri demanded a damage report from the knights, using his authority to prove his case. The boy expressed his indignation furiously, the fire in his eyes burning with indignation, as if his emotions spoke for him. Yuri said with contempt that thieves disgusted him, as if the words filled the air with the weight of condemnation. The parrot too suddenly became alarmed, as if sharing its concern with the others. In the end, the parrot found a common language with the guy and became friends, taming even the most rebellious ones with his charm. Wolf noticed that the parrot clearly wanted to become his friend, as if deciphering the language of birds and strengthening their alliance. It turned out that the guy can understand the parrot thanks to the ability of atavism, opening up new horizons of communication. Being closer to an animal than to a man, he could understand their language, as if the animal whispers revealed to him the secrets of the wild nature. The guy asked the manager if he could have a parrot, moving from riddles to real action. The main character did not understand why he was so drawn to the parrot, as if the secret of this affection remained unsolved. Wolf felt that he knew the reason for this connection. His eyes betrayed secrets hidden from the world. He felt an unusual energy and power in the parrot, disproportionate to its small body, as if great magic was hidden in the bird. The wolf never understood why the hero always strives to help everyone, as if this mystery was hidden in his kind and caring soul. He has strength now, but before he was absolutely helpless, as if his life was a riddle of turning weakness into strength. Once he was vulnerable, but he met teachers, wise mentors who opened the path to strength for him. He learned not only skills from them, but also kindness, deciding to help others rather than take away. The guy couldn't understand what his friend was saying, as if another mystery of their relationship was being revealed to him. Now he passes on his knowledge further, continuing the chain of goodness and learning, as if the adventure were continuing. After these words, the guy suddenly assumed a strange pose, as if immersing himself in some kind of ritual, adding mystery to the atmosphere. It turned out to be the pose of an animal lover, symbolizing complete obedience, as if he had merged with wild nature and accepted its laws. The wolf confessed that he fell in love with the spirit of the guy, so attractive and unique that even the beast could not resist his magic. The wolf asked the boy to make him his companion, expressing his willingness to devote himself to care and service as a sign of devotion. Rui immediately began to dissuade him, foreseeing the difficulties and failures associated with this idea. Wolf suggested simply being friends, trying to relieve tension and find a compromise. But deep down, he still wanted to serve the boy, following his feelings despite reasonable arguments. Rui agreed, but stressed that he would always refer to him as a friend, making friendship the most important thing in their relationship. Charlotte watched with joy as the boys became friends, seeing in their combined strength a hope for overcoming all problems. She apologized to her friend, assuming that their friendship might have been tainted by prejudice against beastmen, feeling responsible for the misunderstanding. The cannibal tried to put an end to discrimination, but died, leaving the business to his heirs, who unfortunately did not have the necessary abilities, revealing a complex family history. Charlotte, trying to make amends, apologized for the misunderstandings, realizing that her ancestors, consumed by their abilities, were unable to change the circumstances, and now the responsibility fell on their descendants. The guy thanked Charlotte for her attention to his race, expressing gratitude for her understanding and support in the fight against bias. The guy explained that the problem was not only in Charlotte's ancestors, but also in his own race, emphasizing that progress is only possible with universal recognition of responsibility. He admitted that their conversation helped him realize the importance of understanding each other more deeply, as if the communication had awakened a desire for tolerance. The boy expressed confidence that, just as he had studied his race, people should study the beastmen more, offering a path to mutual understanding and rapprochement between the two worlds. Charlotte assured that she would help promote this idea, expressing her readiness to actively participate in the process of racial rapprochement. As the granddaughter of a hero, she felt it was her duty to keep her word, as if a hereditary call to honor and responsibility lived in her blood. After these words, they shook hands, symbolizing agreement and a shared desire to create a more harmonious and understanding world. The boy was very nervous about Jackson and was afraid that the knights would find out about him, as if his every thought was filled with fear for keeping his secrets. He was shocked when he suddenly noticed a stranger behind him, who disrupted the usual course of his life. The boy found that among his friends he was called Thorn, a mysterious symbol, like a wind on a cold night, that brought mystery into his being. The mysterious stranger presented Jackson's dead head as a dark artifact filled with unknown secrets that seemed to slow down time itself. The guy didn't understand what was happening to him, and the thought flashed that perhaps he had come to commit suicide. When he tried to escape, his plans fell apart. The stranger easily stopped him, as if controlling every step in this dark game of fate. The stranger, despite his promises, cold-bloodedly took his own life, leaving only a shadow of the past in his empty eyes. Having completed his business, he decided to leave the capital for a while, leaving behind a trail of mysteries and unknown events. After leaving the scene, the mysterious stranger left behind many unanswered questions. After some time, Wolf returned to class, and his return seemed to bring him new strength and clarity for the next stage of his journey. Rui was taken aback by this idea, as if a whirlwind of unexpected thoughts had rushed through his head, leaving a trail of excitement and unclear prospects. At that moment, Mikhail joined them, as if his sudden arrival had brought a fresh wind of change and opened up new opportunities. Michael felt displeased with Rantel Wolf's silence and spoke out forcefully, as if intending to break this barrier of silence. There was a tension between them, as if shadows of discontent were slowly enveloping their relationship, creating a difficult atmosphere. Mikhail took the initiative into his own hands, becoming a leader and directing events in the direction he needed. In response to this, Wolf decisively challenged him to a duel, as if this duel was to determine their future and stood above words. Classmates instantly gathered around like spectators, ready to witness an unusual duel to find out who would emerge victorious. Charlotte decided that after the duel, the tension could subside, and there was no point in interfering, as if she believed in the healing power of confrontation. But when Yuri entered the circle, there was determination in his eyes. He wanted to tell something important about the bracelet, interrupting the moment that could change everything. The bracelet was the center of attention, and although it was not stolen, the secret of its creation and purpose remained unsolved, as if waiting to be revealed. When the mystery was debunked, it turned out to be an artifact of the ogre himself, an inconspicuous link in the chain of his mysterious history. Yuri had a hard time accepting the fact that he had such a significant bracelet in front of him, as if doubting its true connection to the fate of the ogre. The girl asked to look at the inside of the bracelet and noticed an engraving of a flower, a symbol left by the ogre. Yuri, having learned that the bracelet was a family secret, tried to keep it a secret, realizing that outsiders could not know about it. The protagonist suddenly realized that in front of him was the very key he had been told about, as if it were the missing piece of a riddle. His intuition did not fail him, and he turned out to be right, as if the truth had finally revealed itself to him. He politely asked to give him the bracelet temporarily, intending to unravel its secrets and understand its true meaning. Charlotte didn't object, and Yuri agreed, as if the whole group was beginning to understand that this bracelet could be the key to solving many mysteries. The guy decided not to remove the seal from the bracelet, realizing that it was better not to touch this mysterious artifact for now. Charlotte, slightly blushing and with a hint of irritation, asked why he needed the bracelet, looking for answers to the questions that were troubling her. Without showing any resentment, Charlotte simply asked when he could reveal the truth, seeking clarity in this mysterious story. He politely agreed to Charlotte's proposal, making it clear that he would share the secret when the time was right. Yuri was also interested in why the guy needed this bracelet, as if it was another link in their common mystery. Late in the evening, the main character met his parrot, who, as always, brought a fresh dose of clues and fun to their mysterious world. Wolf insisted that the parrot was wise, adding intelligent thoughts to what was happening, which only increased the mystery of everything that was happening. The locals also fell in love with the parrot, which brought joy and positivity into their lives. The guy decided to start studying the bracelet, which seemed to open up a new path to solving mysteries. Putting on the bracelet, he found himself in a blinding light, as if a door had opened to a world of bright revelations and mysteries. He wondered what floor he was on now and prepared himself for a possible encounter with a hostile force, since each floor could hide its own secrets and dangers. But to his surprise, he found his sister Alice, as if this meeting was an unexpected gift in the chaos of the supernatural world. Excitement overwhelmed him at that moment, as if meeting his sister had restored his lost peace and harmony. Alice asked cautiously if it was really Rui in front of her, as if the improbability of his return made her doubt the reality of what was happening. He answered in the affirmative, and joy filled her heart, as if his presence had brought her immeasurable happiness. They both felt a deep joy, and emotions intertwined in their embrace, creating a magical moment in this complex and mysterious world. Alice was immensely happy that they were together again, as if the joy of reuniting with her brother filled her heart with boundless warmth. The sister's friend noticed that the main character was also touched. He was overwhelmed with emotions, as if tears of joy or melancholy were spilling over the edge. But he didn't understand what she was talking about, because she herself was also crying, as if their experiences made the meeting even more touching and mysterious. The brother and sister looked at each other for a long time after their separation, as if their gaze reflected the whole story, full of memories and feelings that came to life at that moment. Over a cup of tea, Rui shared his story, each tale adding new layers to their journey together. Alice hugged him tightly, literally squeezing him in her arms, as if through this touch she was conveying all her tenderness and love. Her friend, already laughing, unexpectedly took the guy away from Alice, adding lightness and playfulness to the meeting. Rui chuckled and thought that at this pace he might suffocate, because the atmosphere had become so cheerful and energetic that everything around seemed to sparkle with new colors. She coquettishly asked him if he thought she was better than Alice. Rui, a little embarrassed, asked if Alice was offended that he had found another girl. With a slight smile, Alice explained that her words were only a playful display of good intentions, a joke to tease her brother. Lucy, with a peaceful smile, assured that she was not angry over such trifles, adding that friendship was more important to her, and even gave Alice some wise advice. Lucy also noted that her joy would not have been exhausted if Alice had not avoided such actions, emphasizing her unique ability to express emotions. Upon meeting again, Rui offered to share knowledge, expressing a desire to learn something new from them, which created an exciting opportunity for sharing experiences. Alice, a little embarrassed, decided to impress Rui by starting to show him complex and incomprehensible techniques, opening up a world of unique techniques to him. Lucy was not far behind and was happy to share her amazing methods, filling their meeting with an atmosphere of inspiration and mutual exchange of knowledge. The three souls, reunited once again, were filled with joy, realizing the strength of their friendship as if sparks of satisfaction flickered in each heart. Rui, who was engrossed in learning and absorbing the knowledge from Alice and Lucy, gradually became transparent, as if his essence was dissolving in a stream of new ideas. The worried girls did not understand what was happening and begged Rui to reveal the secret of this mysterious transformation. Rui explained that his physical body remained in the real world, and here, in this dimension, there was only his soul, floating freely in a whirlpool of knowledge and experience. After 6 hours in the vast space of knowledge and trials, Rui returned back, overcoming the barriers between worlds to reunite his soul with his body in the real world. Alice, realizing the secret of Rui's travels, was surprised to comprehend the full depth of what was happening and realized how amazing this experience was. She hugged her brother tightly, as if trying to capture this moment in her heart before he plunged back into the whirlwind of his spiritual journeys. Rui was puzzled, not understanding why Alice had reacted so sharply, overcome with a mixture of love and hidden fear for her brother crossing the boundaries between worlds. It seemed to Alice that an eternity had passed since he left, as if time and their worlds moved differently, taking him on long adventures. They only asked him to remember that he had them, keeping the connection not only between dimensions, but also in the deepest corners of their hearts. As they parted, they said that they would always be there, supporting him in this world where reality and spiritual journeys are intertwined, ready to be his support. The girls were left alone, but the fire of mutual support continued to burn in their hearts, and their connection remained strong, despite the absence of their brother, who went on a world of mysterious travels. Lucy confidently predicted their future reunion, while Alice looked ahead with doubt, not being sure of its inevitability. However, Alice firmly believed that despite all the difficulties, Rui would overcome his trials, achieve his goals, and win in his spiritual aspirations. When the travelers approached the gate, they were suddenly asked to present their immigration card, disrupting the tranquility of their journey. The man was surprised and did not understand why they suddenly demanded this document, trying to solve the unexpected obstacle in their path. The knight, slightly embarrassed, explained his reaction by saying that it was the first time he had met a samurai and was looking with admiration at a warrior from another tradition. The man was suddenly asked about the purpose of his journey, drawing attention to the mystery of his mission. He replied that he had a job, but added mysteriously that it was not just an ordinary job, leaving the intrigue. Rui entered the classroom and greeted everyone happily, filling the atmosphere with positivity and energy. He was responded to with warmth, bringing friendliness and coziness back into the classroom. Quietly, Rui wished Iris a good morning, enveloping her in his warm but hidden message. Rui was always intrigued by what Iris liked and was curious to unravel the mystery of her preferences and inner world. A classmate approached her with questions, creating an atmosphere of curiosity around her interests and mysterious personality. Iris asked coldly if the girl realized she was being ignored, creating a tense hostility and leaving questions in her interlocutor's heart. But she, on the contrary, was glad that Iris finally spoke, feeling a surge of positive emotions from their communication. Everyone in the class had already become friends, but she still felt the wall of loneliness that she so wanted to break down. Rui waited for any opportunity to get closer to her, his eyes shining with determination to overcome this barrier and establish a connection with her world. He was approached for help with her homework, which gave him a chance to get to know her better, opening the door to a potential friendship. However, their gazes suddenly met and looked into the distance, creating a moment of mysterious silence, like a secret that had yet to be revealed. Lying on his desk, Rui was dying of boredom, dreaming of adventures and unknown worlds that could liven up his day. Charlotte asked worriedly if he was okay, noticing his tiredness and lethargy. She noticed that he had not been getting enough sleep lately, expressing concern for his physical and emotional state. Meanwhile, Rui smiled as he remembered playing with his new friend, the parrot, and these bright moments brought him joy and peace. At that moment, Rui felt someone's gaze on him again, as mysterious as before, causing him strange feelings and awakening a hidden secret. He wondered if this could be an intent to kill him, sensing the signs of an invisible threat that could darken his world. Rui assured Charlotte that he was fine and that he was almost awake, trying to dispel the shadow of anxiety that had enveloped his sudden awakening. Charlotte accepted his words without arguing, showing understanding and leaving everything as it was. Meanwhile, the boy was excited as he sat in class, his emotions boiling, filling the air with an atmosphere of mystery and anticipation, as if something unusual was happening inside him. It is unknown where the threat comes from, but it is already close, as if fate is preparing an unexpected turn. While walking through the forest, the main character feels like he is being watched, as if an invisible eye is recording his every step. He decides to take a risk, creating a moment when his actions can change the course of events and fill the atmosphere with unpredictability. Ancient hieroglyphs seem to appear around him, and he becomes a participant in a mystery, the solution to which can change his fate. He drew a magic circle, embodying ancient knowledge and calling upon the mystical powers hidden in the mysterious geometry. This circle could create a barrier, which was exactly what Rui wanted, to separate his world from outside influences and keep his adventures a secret. When he felt success, it was as if a magic circle had worked, creating an invisible net that caught the mysterious pursuer. Rui began to build a cage around himself, as if creating a magical amulet that would protect him from threats and help him unravel the mysteries of his world. To his surprise, he saw Iris standing in a magical cage, as if her appearance was part of an unknown plan. He didn't understand where she came from or why she was in his cage, as if the answer to her presence was linked to his fate. The protagonist wondered if she would catch him, sensing the uncertainty that surrounded their meeting in the magical world. But he did not want to fight her and revealed his true intentions, seeking to unravel the secrets of their meeting together. Iris saw no point in answering, creating an atmosphere of confusion and mystery, as if her silence were part of a puzzle. She was eager to avenge her master, filling the air with tension and determination to change the course of events. She then began to attack her classmate, showing strength and ruthlessness as a true protector of her master in this magical battle. Rui, not wanting to give in, began to defend himself, showing endurance and determination to defend his essence in this unusual fight. The girl used the bloodshed technique, which absorbed magical power and ancient energy, as if her attack was aimed at releasing mysterious powers. It worked. The protagonist fell under the tree, submitting to the power of the bloodshed, as if his resistance had been broken. Now she had avenged her master. Her attack had brought victory, creating a moment of satisfaction and triumph after the intense magical battle. Rui, on the other hand, smiled and said his arm still hurt, adding irony and playfulness to the situation, as if, despite the defeat, he had not lost his sense of humor. Iris couldn't understand how the guy stood up again, creating an air of mystery, as if he possessed some unknown power. This time, she intended to finish him off using the blood scythe, releasing a new magic technique with deadly energy, showing her undeniable determination. Her gaze was confident and calm, as if her whole being was filled with determination, creating the image of a fearless warrior in this magical confrontation. In an instant, she began to attack, channeling her determination into magical movements as if time had slowed down, leaving only the tense air around them. Rui easily dodged the attacks, dancing among the glowing shards like a virtuoso, creating a whirlwind of emotion and brilliance that would remain etched in the memory for a long time. Noticing his deft movements, Mrs. Iris caught something unique. It is not surprising that she wanted to study the guy in more detail because his grace was so attractive. Rui easily dodged the attack like the wind, noticing the curious look of Lady Iris. He politely asked who was behind her charm and strength, revealing the secret that had attracted his attention. Rage flared in her when she realized that the boy did not recognize her, and a fire of rejection lit up her eyes. It was later revealed that her lover, who became the object of Rui's attention, was not just a woman, but a demon queen, the embodiment of mysterious power and indomitable beauty in the world of magic. Hearing that her lover was the demon queen, Rui was momentarily shocked, trembling in surprise at the secret being revealed. He realized that his seemingly ordinary sister had suddenly become a demon queen, and this discovery only added to his emotional turmoil. Iris, meeting Rui's gaze, suddenly declared that she felt energy from him comparable to the power of a queen, which again excited the imagination and added mystery to their meeting. Yes, there was truth in her words. After living 300 years with Alice, a piece of her power and soul penetrated into Rui, preserving something mysterious in him. Finding that his magical power surpassed that of a human, Rui realized that something incomprehensible, something belonging to a higher reality, flowed through his veins. She promised to give him only a small part of her power, keeping this event a secret from ordinary people. With a smile, Iris warned that Rui had the ability to deceive others, emphasizing that his art of stealth and disguise would impress everyone who met him. She emphasized that despite his ability to deceive as the ruler and queen of demons, she does not fall for tricks, remaining inaccessible to manipulation. By discovering that her magical eye could see magical energy, its shape and color, Iris added a new dimension to their exploration of the mysterious aspects of surrounding magic. There was more to Rui's gaze than just the Demon King's magical energy. She saw in it an unknown power that could influence the deepest realities and secret currents of the universe. For the first time, she didn't realize that on the day of exams, when magic was at the forefront, she felt something outstanding and mysterious in Rui. Watching him closely, she noticed how skillfully he wielded black magic, revealing the dark aspects of his inner world and adding mystery to his personality. Feeling her gaze, Rui realized the moment he had used black magic, and this realization brought about a mixed feeling of discovery and self-knowledge within him. Overwhelmed by the flood of new information and discoveries, he experienced a slight shock, realizing that his world was full of mysteries and secrets that were difficult to unravel. He was at a loss as to who Iris was, who turned out to be a demon queen with many mysterious abilities, and each answer only added to the questions. Determined to reveal her secret, Iris was ready to meet him and tell him who she really was, opening up new pages of their interaction. Iris confessed that she was a subject of the great demon queen and a vampire, revealing her true nature hidden from many vampires. Rui was shocked by this news, his emotions fluctuating between surprise, respect, and slight anxiety at the mysteries surrounding the mysterious vampire. He dared to find out if Iris was the vampire he had always been looking for in his soul and the world of secrets. Iris told him that due to the small number of their kind, they were on the verge of extinction, convincing him that before him was not only a mysterious vampire, but also a defender of his people, fighting for survival. Having figured out the plan of fate, Iris said that their family was saved from extermination by Rui's sister, who remained loyal to her people, which added even more mystery and nobility to her. As the protagonist studied these details, he became increasingly shocked, realizing the depth of the secrets and connections that created a web of mysterious relationships and debts. Realizing that his sister Alice was in hell, Rui realized that finding her had become an even more difficult task, since hell is a dark and inaccessible reality. Iris finally found Rui, a man with magical abilities comparable to the Demon King, in the capital, adding new layers to their relationship. This meant that the guy with the Demon King's magical powers had actually become her true enemy, opening up a new level of complexity in their interactions. Iris explained that there were two ways to take over magical power. The first was to gradually take it away, but this method was not suitable for him due to his short lifespan. Rui naturally did not agree, because his life was long and the slow method did not appeal to him. Iris claimed that his power arose from the act of killing Alice, which left him with mixed feelings of guilt and shock. doubting the truth of his words. The girl could not believe that he received his magical power from Alice's death. It seemed incredible to her. She decided there was no point in asking any more questions, as his answers only fueled his irritation and disappointment, leaving her in a state of dissatisfaction. A desire to tear him to pieces filled her, and sparks of indignation flashed in her eyes, suppressed by rage at the supposed betrayal and secrets that kindled a dark flame within her. Iris, using the supreme crucifix blood spear, the embodiment of her power, prepared for revenge, emphasizing her determination and skill in battle. The guy did not show any nervousness, believing in his own strength and confidence that he could overcome difficulties and win the fight. To protect himself, he activated the Satanic Ray, an embodiment of the dark forces, ready to stand by his side in the fight against Iris. In the blink of an eye, the bloody spear disappeared, highlighting the fickleness of magic and the unpredictability of the outcome of this battle. The girl refused to believe in his real power, since the idea of it was distorted in her confused mind, unable to comprehend such magical greatness. From that moment on, she fell to her knees, faced with invincibility and shock, opening a new chapter in understanding magic and power. Iris, overcoming her bewilderment, was unable to unravel the mystery of his true essence and power, remaining in ignorance. The protagonist began to explain that he was the same as her, seeking to save his queen, clarifying his true motives and the paradoxes of their meeting. Both of them, having finished the storm of clashes and conversations, sat down on a snag in the forest, surrounded by silence, which slowly restored balance in their relationship. The girl could not accept the truth that her queen was alive. This realization required internal acceptance and understanding. Ready to answer for her actions, she was ready to accept any punishment, offering her loyalty and repentance to the queen. Instead of punishment, he offered to work together to save his sister, showing willingness to cooperate and leniency. To console her, he promised that the question of punishment would be decided after their joint attempt to save his sister, striving for a balance between justice and mercy. Realizing that revealing the lives of both kings could lead to war, they realized the need for caution and tact to avoid conflict in a world where politics could plunge everything into chaos. At this point, the protagonist realized that revealing this information would make it more difficult to seek help, raising questions about travel and loyalty in the face of conflict. However, this did not mean that everyone around would become enemies. There were those who could understand the difficult circumstances and remain neutral. As it turns out, other vampires were watching them from afar, adding intrigue and uncertainty to their story. A man named Bruno appeared before the couple, suddenly intervening in their destinies and bringing new elements to the already confusing scenario. Bruno revealed that even after 300 years, the Demon King remains their only master, suggesting that breaking the bonds of the past is not easy. The man wasted no time and immediately asked the boy to make them his subjects, putting them through difficult choices and trials. Bruno admitted that up until that moment, they had no idea of their path, but after 300 years, they finally met the bridge to the Demon King, creating a new turn in their lives. He revealed to them that Rui was their last hope, the key to solving the mysteries and surviving the game of power and magic. To everyone's surprise, the guy easily agreed to the offer, as if he had become confident that this path would lead to new discoveries and opportunities. Iris, feeling responsible for the noise of her companions, apologized to the guy, trying to keep calm and resolve the misunderstanding due to their appearance. She explained that her partners were simply deliriously happy to lose control and influence those around them. The protagonist was also glad that he had more friends, and in this whirlwind of events he found some joy and support in his journey. The girl sincerely admitted that she hopes for further cooperation with the guy, expressing her readiness to develop their relationship. After all the incidents, the guy decided to rest a little, giving himself time to think about what happened and look at the future from a new perspective. Rui, remembering the delicious smell from his room in his dream, woke up with a sense of mystery that had once again approached him. When he realized that there was someone else in the room, he was slightly shocked, not expecting such a turn of events, which added mystery to his adventure. In front of him stood a girl preparing food, creating an atmosphere of warmth and comfort, which caused him amazement and an incredible feeling of surprise. On the threshold of a spring morning, when the sun's rays gently embraced the earth, Iris greeted the mysterious guy, and their gaze was so deep that words seemed superfluous in their invisible conversation. With a tender look, Iris told the guy about her culinary plans, promising him breakfast, a magical symphony of tastes, and asked him to wait, leading him into a world of expectation. The protagonist was curious about what Iris was doing in his room, creating a mysterious atmosphere filled with rumors of secrets and magic that he did not yet know about. Rui was left waiting for an explanation of how the sorceress Iris had entered his world like a mysterious star that had fallen from the sky to light the way to unexpected spells. Iris explained with a slight smile that she was destined to be his assistant, as if fate had long ago decided that their paths would intertwine, creating a unique saga in their shared life. Iris handed him her creation on a plate, warmly confessing that she had put not only her skill, but also all her love into this breakfast. When he looked at the table, Iris's breakfast really did look delicious. Bright colors, delicious aromas, and a variety of dishes created the atmosphere of a magical morning feast. The protagonist, enjoying a magnificent breakfast, sincerely thanked Iris for the banquet, where every taste sounded like a note of a melody, juicy and memorable. When he finally decided to try something with his own hands, he realized how deliciously he could cook, weaving a piece of his inner warmth into each culinary masterpiece. In the atmosphere of the class, the girl decided to introduce herself again, revealing her story in new shades and causing a mysterious stir among her classmates. This time, she called herself Ruyu, resurrected and whole, as if corrected by the magic of time and fate, ready to weave new stories with the class. Everyone in the class was shocked by this news. Amazement flashed in their eyes, as if a new chapter had opened in the mysterious journey with Ruyu. Among the surprised glances, Charlotte stood out for her displeasure, as if there was disharmony in her heart from the unexpected turn of events. Her appearance and facial expression clearly showed that she was deeply unhappy with the situation, as if her internal rebellion was being broadcast to the entire class. Charlotte, with an insistent look, demanded an immediate explanation from her boyfriend, as if demanding clarity in the foggy web of mysterious events in the classroom. In the whirlwind of excitement and uncertainty, Iris intervened, for some unknown reason deciding to hug the boy, thereby relieving the tension that had gripped the class. Rui tried to reconcile Charlotte and Iris, protecting them from unnecessary disagreements and tensions that could spoil the atmosphere. After a while, they calmed down, found a common language, and sat in the classroom, like the only harmony after a storm of uncertainty. The boy decided that what lay ahead was already important, and he peered into the next chapter as if it were a riddle ready to unfold before him. The teacher stood in front of the class, insisting that it was not the race that was important, but those who overcame the wall of strength, receiving a special mark, emphasizing the strength of the inner spirit that could overcome any barrier. As the owner becomes stronger, it transforms into a golden royal mark, and a special royal mark appears next to it, symbolizing the highest level of strength and wisdom. When the teacher asked who knew about the royal sign, one of the boys raised his hand energetically, ready to reveal the secrets he had learned in his search. He began to explain that when thinking of a special royal mark, the images that come to mind are the Dragon King and the Demon King, two monarchs who are completely different in nature. As Demon Kings, they become the embodiment of brutal force, their power piercing the darkness and causing trepidation in those who dare cross their path. In the martial arts tournament, the participants will fight against the previous Demon King, and the winner will become the next lord, inheriting the title of a demon with outstanding magical power. In this captivating story, Iris sees her destiny reflected in a mirror, where magic and adventure intertwine with her own path. Unlike demons, Dragon Kings are born with the mark of a king inherited from their royal family. From that point on, they are destined to become Dragon Lords, but bear the burden of the title from birth. The teacher announced that the next step would be practice, emphasizing that their mentor would be a different teacher, making a mysterious change in the class schedule. Everyone was shocked by the news of a new teacher with a general assessment. His sudden appearance caused surprise and excitement in the class. Rui realized that he now had ample opportunity to gain new knowledge and experience. Learning under the guidance of a teacher with an overall assessment promised to be exciting and useful. The teacher asked if they were Legacy students, hinting at a connection to the mysterious and influential educational institution. The man introduced himself as a traveling swordsman named Kojiro and announced that he would be teaching them for a time, bringing a dose of mystery and adventure to the class. Charlotte, full of curiosity, wondered about the power of this man, as if his strength contained secrets that could captivate the imagination. Kojiro offered to let them fight him if they wanted to know his power, challenging them to a duel to reveal his true skill. The entire class was eager to meet the great master in battle, as if the flames of passion and excitement were blazing in their hearts, creating an atmosphere of anticipation. The wolf, burning with the thirst for battle, declared with determination that he wanted to fight first, preparing to show his skills to the great master. Kojiro allowed Wolf and Michael to attack him together, giving them a chance to test their strength in alliance against the sword master. Drawing his sword, he seemed to be revealing a secret, preparing for the upcoming fight. He decided to undermine their confidence by asking if they were afraid of losing together, challenging their resolve. The man did not take them seriously, and this only fueled their discontent, pushing them to a more decisive proof of their strength. Kojiro saw a strong spirit in them and wondered what could happen in this struggle, recognizing in their determination the potential for something great. He announced his readiness for battle, and there was a glimmer of determination and experience in his eyes, ready to test his strength. Pushing off the floor, he rose into the air, his movements revealing the grace of a seasoned warrior ready for battle. Before the wolf could react, the swordmaster approached him like a shadow, creating the feeling that the fight had already begun before the first blow. Wolf's strike seemed slow compared to Kojiro's, as if time had slowed down, highlighting the gap in skill and experience. Michael could not afford to lose. His determination was burning with the desire to overcome the challenge and prove his strength. He used a technique called bomb, suddenly opening up his arsenal of techniques for battle. By this point, the man realized that the situation had become dangerous, and the internal fire of their passions was fueling the fight to the limit of tension. Their rage grew as they realized that even a few blows had missed their mark, and the anger and disappointment fueled the flames of determination within them. He prepares for a new attack, approaching the moment of truth, ready to face unknown challenges. Wolf advised him to bite his tongue, emphasizing the importance of silence so as not to reveal his plans. Kojiro easily dodged the attack, his movements displaying grace and skill, showing that such attacks were merely a light test. He easily threw the wolf back several meters, demonstrating superiority and control in the fight. Mikhail could not give in. It would hurt his dignity. He stood resolutely, ready to accept the challenge and continue the fight. He was ready to use his strongest magic, calling upon his inner strength for a decisive attack. Michael was surprised that the man didn't try to defend himself, but decided that this would only encourage him to attack harder. The guy activated his bomb at maximum range, creating a vortex of energy capable of engulfing everyone around him. But Kojiro continued to stand motionless, his composure and fortitude a strong shield against the approaching magical whirlwind. A smile appeared on his face, and he was ready to strike, wisdom and confidence shining in his eyes. At that moment, he realized his plan, as if everything around him exploded with a powerful blow, leaving only an echo. Mikhail could not believe what was happening. The world around him distortedly reflected the improbability of what had happened. The man asked if they could continue, as if the inner determination and passion for battle had reached a new level, pushing them to move on. But Mikhail lost his strength and desire to continue. He realized that he had lost and gave up, recognizing the power of an experienced opponent. Everyone present was shocked by how easily he defeated them. His skill exceeded their expectations and caused uncontrollable admiration. Rui was confident that he would become better after this fight. He saw every defeat as an opportunity to grow and improve. The protagonist took the sword in his hands, feeling its weight, preparing for a test that would take his skills to a new level. The man noticed that the hero had strained his shoulders too much and advised him to move the weight lower, sharing his experience to improve his technique. He admitted that he used to be a nobody, but now he is confident in his abilities and knows who he really is. His persistence left a mark, becoming a sign of achievement, showing the path and efforts taken to become an important personality. The man decided that his task would be to train the prince, as if opening a new chapter in their story, full of lessons and discoveries. James stated that he would train the prince himself, showing confidence in his abilities and responsibility for the education of the heir. There was tension between them, uncertainty and dissatisfaction in the air, creating an atmosphere of irreconcilability. The guy stressed that this was his duty, and he could not do otherwise, demonstrating dedication and determination in fulfilling his duties. But Yuri said that the guy shouldn't worry. Kojiro no longer interfered in all this. When the man asked if anyone else wanted some, Michael and Wolf immediately extended their hands to him. James didn't think the man was bad, but he couldn't let others get close to the prince without doing something special. Yuri was glad that he had such a guard. Rui realized that they really had a strong connection. The main character said that James would be teaching him today. Nevertheless, Kojiro suggested starting training.